Hi guys, tonight we step quietly into the deep winter of long ago. The sun is sinking behind the hills. The air is turning cold very fast. It feels like ice against your cheeks. The wind is coming off the fields like a cold river, finding every gap in your clothes. You can hear the dry grass snapping under your boots as the frost turns everything to glass. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you want to let me know where you are listening from, and what time it is where you are. I always love seeing those little snapshots of the world. Now dim the lights and let the story begin. You are standing in front of a very big gate. It is made of heavy oak wood and iron. The metal is so cold that if you touched it with your bare hand, your skin might stick to it. This is the entrance to a castle. High above you, the stone towers reach up into a dark sky. There are no street lights here. There are no glowing signs. There is only the moon and the stars, which look very bright and very far away. You pull your cloak tighter. It is made of thick wool. It is heavy and a bit scratchy, but it is the only thing keeping the heat of your body inside. You take a step forward. Your leather shoes make a dull thud on the frozen ground. The air you breathe out looks like white smoke in the dark. It is so quiet that you can hear your own heart beating. You walk through the gate and into the castle. Inside, the air feels different. It is not as windy as it was outside, but it's just as cold. The walls are made of massive stones. They were built to stay strong during a war, but they are not very good at keeping people warm. The stone is like a sponge for the cold. It sucks the heat out of the air and holds it deep inside. To your left, a torch is burning in a metal ring on the wall. A torch is just a thick piece of wood with the end soaked in oil and set on fire. It makes a hissing sound as the oil burns. The light it gives is orange and shaky. It casts long shadows that dance across the floor. The smell is strong. It smells of wood smoke, old oil, and damp earth. You follow the light down a long, narrow hallway. As you walk, you notice the floor. It is not bare stone. It is covered in something called rushes. Rushes are just dried plants like grass or reeds. People spread them on the floor to make the room feel a bit softer and to help keep the dampness away. In a castle, these rushes are very important. They are often mixed with sweet-smelling herbs like lavender or mint. When you step on them, they make a soft crunching sound, and a tiny bit of that sweet smell rises up to your nose. It is a nice smell, but beneath it, you can still smell the cold stone and the wet wool of your clothes. You are not alone in this hallway. You see a man walking toward you. He is part of the night shift. He is a guard, but he is not looking for an enemy tonight. He is just making sure the castle is safe while everyone else is asleep. He carries a small lantern. A lantern is a little metal box with a candle inside and holes for the light to come out. He walks slowly. His boots make a rhythm on the rushes. He nods to you, but he does not speak. In this world, at this time of night, people do not waste their breath on talk. It is better to keep your mouth closed, to keep the warmth in. The hallway is very long. You pass a window, but there is no glass in it. Glass is very expensive and hard to make, so most windows are just holes in the wall. This one is narrow and tall. It is called an arrow slit. It was made for soldiers to shoot through, but now it just lets in a thin stream of freezing air. You can hear the wind whistling through it. It sounds like a low, sad song. You move past it quickly, feeling the chill pull at your hair. Further down the hall, you see a big cloth hanging on the wall. This is a tapestry. A tapestry is like a very large, heavy rug that people hang on the stone walls. It has pictures sewn into it, maybe of a forest or a hunt. But the pictures are not the most important part. The tapestry is there to block the cold. It acts like a blanket for the wall. You reach out and touch the fabric. It feels thick and a bit dusty. Behind it, you can feel the icy breath of the stone. Without these big cloths, the castle would be much harder to live in. The castle is full of people, but you cannot hear them. They are all tucked away in their beds, hiding under layers of blankets and furs. Only the people on the night shift are awake. You think about the kitchen workers, who have to wake up soon to start the fires. You think about the people who watch the gates, and the people who make sure the torches do not go out. Their work is quiet and lonely, but without them, the castle would be dark and freezing. You find yourself in a large room called the Great Hall. It is very big and very high. The ceiling is so far up that you cannot see it in the dark. In the center of the room is a hearth. A hearth is a big place for a fire, usually made of stone. There are only a few red coals left in the hearth now. They glow like small eyes in the shadows. The servant is kneeling by the hearth. He is adding a few more sticks to the embers. He blows on them gently. You watch as a tiny flame licks the wood. It is a very small victory against the big, dark room. You stand there for a moment, just watching the fire. The room is so large that the heat from the hearth does not reach the corners. You can feel the warmth on your face, but your back is still cold. This is the truth of life in a castle. You are always moving between the heat and the frost. It teaches you to be patient. It teaches you to appreciate every small flame. The silence of the castle is deep. It is not a scary silence, but a heavy one. It feels like the stone is watching you. You take a deep breath and smell the ash from the hearth. You can hear the wood pop as the fire grows a little bit. In this big stone building, the night feels very long. You imagine what it must be like to sleep in a room where the air is so cold that your breath turns to ice on your pillow. You walk away from the fire and back toward the hallway. Your footsteps are the only sound. You pass another torch and for a second, your shadow is 10 feet tall on the wall. You feel very small in this place that was built to last for hundreds of years. The night shift continues around you, invisible, but always there. Someone is closing a door somewhere. Someone is walking on a floor above you. The castle is like a big, sleeping animal, and you are just a small part of its dream. You stop by a pillar and lean against it. The stone is even colder than you thought. It feels like it could freeze your cloak. You close your eyes for a second and just listen. You hear the wind. You hear the fire. You hear the soft rustle of the rushes on the floor. It is a world of simple things. Stone, wood, fire, and wool. There is no noise from machines. There are no buzzing lights. There is only the quiet of the night and the slow, steady work of staying warm. You think about how lucky you are to have your thick cloak. You think about the people who built these walls and how they lived through winters much worse than this one. They were strong people. They knew that the night belonged to the cold and they learned how to live with it. You take one more look at the glowing hearth before you turn to find your own place of rest. The castle is a dark, cold maze, but as long as the fires are burning, it is a home. You leave the big stone walls of the castle behind. You walk down a small, winding path that leads toward the village. The ground here is uneven. The frozen mud is hard like rock. In the castle, everything felt tall and cold. Here in the village, everything is low and quiet. The houses are small and crouched together as if they are trying to hide from the wind. These are the cottages of the people who work the land. You stop in front of one of these cottages. It does not look like the castle. The walls are not made of stone. Instead, they are made of sticks and mud. This is called wattle and daub. It sounds simple, but it is very good at keeping out the breeze. The roof is made of thick layers of dried straw called thatch. Snow sits on top of the thatch like a heavy white blanket. It is very dark, but you can see a tiny bit of smoke rising from a hole in the roof. You bend your head to go through the low door. Inside, the room is very dark and very small. There is only one main room where the whole family lives, eats, and sleeps. The air is thick. It is much warmer than the castle, but it is also very smoky. In these houses there is no chimney to carry the smoke away. Instead, the fire sits in the middle of the floor on a big flat stone. This is the hearth. The smoke rises slowly, filling the space under the roof before it finds its way out through the thatch. You sit down on a low wooden stool near the fire. Your eyes need a moment to get used to the smoke. It smells of oak wood and old soot. It is a heavy smell, and it clings to your clothes and your hair. You can feel the warmth of the fire on your shins. It is a good, deep heat. The fire is small now, just a few logs glowing orange and red. A person is sitting across from you. This is the father of the house. He is on the night shift for his family. He stays awake for a little while to make sure the fire does not go out and to make sure no sparks fly onto the straw on the floor. He moves a heavy iron pot that is sitting on a metal stand over the coals. This stand is called a brandreth. It has 3 legs to keep the pot steady in the ashes. Inside the pot is the family's meal for tomorrow. It is something called pottage. Pottage is a thick soup made of oats, beans, and whatever vegetables they could find in the autumn. It has been cooking slowly for hours. The smell of the onions and the grain is very strong. It is a simple smell, but it makes you feel full just by breathing it in. You look around the room. In the corner, you see the rest of the family. They are all sleeping together in one big bed. It is not a bed like we have today. It is more like a wooden frame filled with lots of dried straw. They are huddling close to each other to share the heat of their bodies. Even the family dog is curled up at their feet. On the night shift, the father looks at them and then looks back at the fire. He knows that the fire is the most important thing in the house. If the fire dies, the room will turn into an icebox before the sun comes up. There is a simple historical fact about these houses that might surprise you. Most people in this time did not just share their homes with their families. They often shared them with their animals too. On the other side of the room, behind a thin wooden wall, you can hear a cow shifting in the dark. You can hear the soft sound of its breath. The heat from the cow's large body helps keep the house warm. It is a bit noisy, and the smell is earthy, but the animals are like living heaters. They are part of the family's survival. The father reaches for a small piece of wood. It is a wooden trencher. This is a flat piece of wood used as a plate. He uses a small knife to scrape a bit of dried bread onto it. He moves slowly. Every motion is quiet because he does not want to wake the children. You watch the way the firelight reflects on the wooden walls. The walls are black with soot from years of fires. This soot actually helps protect the wood and the thatch from bugs. It is a strange way to keep a house healthy, but it works. You sit in silence for a long time. The only sounds are the crackle of the wood and the soft breathing of the sleeping family. You watch a thin line of smoke curl up toward the ceiling. It moves like a slow dance. In this quiet moment, you realize how small the world feels. There is no noise from the outside. The wind is blowing against the thatch, but it sounds very far away. Inside this little bubble of mud and straw, there is only the warmth and the light of the hearth. This is a moment of deep reflection. You think about how hard these people work during the day. They spend all their time in the cold fields or looking after the animals. The night is the only time they can be still. The fire is their friend. It gives them light to see and heat to stay alive. Without this small circle of orange light, the darkness of the medieval world would be too much to bear. You feel a sense of peace sitting here. The smoke makes your eyes heavy, and the warmth makes your muscles relax. The father adds one more log to the fire. He does it very carefully so it will burn for a long time. He looks at you and gives a small, tired nod. He is a guardian of the night. He is the one who keeps the frost away while his loved ones dream. You think about all the fathers and mothers in all the cottages in the village doing this same thing. Each house has one small light burning in the dark. It is like 1,000 stars scattered across the land. You reach out your hands toward the embers. The heat stings your skin just a little bit, but it feels good. You can feel the cold of the cold leaving your bones. Here, life is simpler. It is about wood and water and grain. It is about making sure the fire stays alive until the morning. You look up at the hole in the roof. You can see one single star shining down through the smoke. It looks very cold up there in the great wide night, but here, near the hearth, you are safe. You imagine the taste of the pottage when it is finally ready. It will be hot and thick. It will warm the family from the inside before they start their work in the frost. Every part of this life is built around the hearth. It is the heart of the home. You watch the father lean back against the wall. His eyes are half closed, but he is still watching the flames. He will sit here until the first grey light of dawn appears in the sky. Only then will he allow himself to rest. You take a deep breath of the smoky air. It is not as fresh as the air in the castle, but it feels more like home. It is the smell of a family staying together. It is the smell of survival. You stay very still, not wanting to break the quiet. The fire pops once, sending a tiny spark into the air. It disappears before it hits the floor. It hits the floor. The world continues to sleep. The cow in the corner sighs. The father watches. And you sit there, wrapped in the warmth of the peasant's hearth, waiting for the night to pass. You have been asleep for a few hours now. The first part of your night was deep and heavy. It felt like you were sinking into a soft, dark well. But now your eyes open. You are not scared, and you do not feel like you have had a bad dream. You just feel awake. This is a very normal thing for you and everyone else in the medieval world. You are in the middle of what people call the first sleep. The room is very still. The fire that was so bright and warm when you first lay down has grown small. It is now just a pile of glowing red spots in the middle of the hearth. The smoky smell from earlier is still there, but it is lighter now. It has settled into the straw of your bed and the wool of your blankets. You pull the heavy cover up to your chin. The air in the room is much colder than it was. You can see your breath again. It looks like a tiny ghost floating above your face in the dim light. You listen to the sounds of the house. Beside you, you can hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of the family. Someone shifts in their sleep, making the straw in the mattress crunch and rustle. It is a dry, dusty sound. In the corner, the cow makes a low, huffing noise as she breathes. This is the watch, the quiet time between your first sleep and your second sleep. In our modern world, we try to sleep all night without waking up. But in the time of the night shift in history, people did things differently. Most people back then had 2 sleeps every night. They would go to bed when the sun went down because candles were expensive. They would sleep for about 4 or 5 hours. Then they would wake up naturally. They would stay awake for an hour or maybe 2. This was not a time to be busy or loud. It was a time for being quiet and thinking. It was a time to be still. You sit up slowly. The cold air hits your shoulders and you feel a little shiver. You reach for a thick woolen cloak that was lying on the foot of the bed and wrap it around you. It is heavy and warm. You move toward the hearth. You see the father of the house is also awake. He is sitting on his stool, just like before. He is not doing a lot of work. He is just sitting in the quiet. This is a clever way to live. Because there are no electric lights, the nights in winter are very, very long. If you tried to sleep for 12 hours straight, your body would get tired of lying down. So, people use this middle hour to do small things. The father picks up a small object from a shelf. It is a horn lantern. This is a little box made of metal, but the sides are not made of glass. Instead, they are made of very thin slices of cow horn. The horn has been scraped so thin that light can shine through it, but it is much stronger than glass and it does not break easily. He lights a small candle inside it. The light is soft and yellow. It does not fill the room, but it gives him enough light to see his hands. He is holding something else now. It is a set of prayer beads. They are simple wooden balls on a string. In the medieval world, this middle hour is a very special time for prayer. People feel that the world is very close to God when it is this quiet. You watch as his fingers move from one bead to the next. He is whispering words that you cannot quite hear. The sound is like the buzzing of a bee. It is a very peaceful sound. You think about this historical fact. For hundreds of years, almost everyone in Europe slept like this. They didn't think it was strange to wake up at 2 in the morning. They used this time to talk to each other in low voices. They would talk about their hopes or their worries. They would tell stories that were too quiet for the busy daytime. Sometimes they would even do a little bit of work, like mending a tear in a shirt or spinning a bit of wool. You sit on the floor near the hearth. The stone is cold, but the red coals give off a tiny bit of heat that feels good on your face. You look at the family sleeping in the big bed. They look so safe and warm. You realize that this middle hour is a gift. It is a time when you don't have to be a worker or a servant. You can just be yourself. You can listen to the wind outside. The wind is still there, pushing against the mud walls of the cottage. It makes a low whistling sound in the thatch roof. But inside, it is very calm. This is a moment of deep reflection. You look at the single candle in the horn lantern. It is so small, yet it is the only thing fighting against the big darkness of the night. You feel very small too. The world outside is huge and frozen. There are forests full of wolves and mountains covered in snow. But here, in this tiny circle of light, everything is okay. You feel a sense of honor to be part of this quiet rhythm. You feel like you are guarding the house along with the father and the glowing coals. The father puts down his beads. He reaches for a small wooden cup and takes a sip of water. He looks at you and gives a very small smile. He doesn't need to say anything. You both know that the night is half over. Soon the second sleep will come. The second sleep is often the best one. It is the sleep that takes you all the way to the morning. It is light and full of dreams. You watch as the father stands up and moves toward the door. He checks the wooden bar that keeps the door shut. He listens for a moment to the animals. The cow is still. The chickens are quiet. Everything is safe. He comes back to the hearth and uses a long metal stick to move the coals. He covers them with a little bit of ash. This helps the coals stay hot until the morning without burning away too fast. This is a clever trick that every person on the night shift knows. You feel your own eyes getting heavy again. The middle hour is coming to an end. The quiet has done its work. Your mind feels calm and your body feels ready to rest again. You stand up and let the heavy cloak fall back onto the bed. You crawl back under the layers of wool and straw. The bed is still warm from when you were there before. It feels like a hug from an old friend. As you lie there, you think about the horn lantern. You think about the thin slices of horn and the tiny flame. It is a beautiful thing. It is a little piece of light that you can carry through the dark. You close your eyes and listen to the breathing of the house one more time. The rhythm is so steady. It is the heartbeat of the village. The wind as tiny seems to be getting quietless, or maybe you are just moving further away from it as you fall back into sleep. You feel the heavy blankets pressing down on you. They are like a shield against the frost. You know that when you wake up next, the sky will be turning grey and the birds will be starting to sing. But for now, there is only the second sleep. It is a deep, peaceful place. You let yourself go. You sink back down into the darkness, feeling safe, feeling warm, and feeling part of the long, quiet history of the night. The middle hour is over. You have sat by the small glow of the hearth, and you have watched the father of the house pray with his wooden beads. Now, it is time to return to your bed for the second sleep. But before you climb back under the heavy blankets, you must think about your clothes. In the medieval world, you do not wear light pajamas like we do today. The air in the cottage is far too cold for that. To stay warm through the night, you must wrap yourself in many layers. You stand in the dim light of the dying fire. The air feels sharp against your skin. You are wearing your first layer, which is called a shift. Some people also call it a chemise. This is a very important piece of clothing. It is a long shirt that goes down to your knees. It is made of linen. Linen is a fabric made from the flax plant. It is very clever because it is strong and easy to wash. It feels a bit cool and stiff at first, but as you wear it, it becomes soft. It helps to keep the sweat away from your body and keeps your heavier woolen clothes clean. This is a microhistory detail that tells us a lot about life back then. Most people only had 1 or 2 shifts. They would wear them all day and all night. Because they did not have washing machines, they would wash the linen in big tubs of hot water with soap made from wood ash. When it was dry, it smelled like the wind and the sun. You pull your shift straight. It feels like a soft shield against the cold air of the room. But the linen shift is not enough. You reach for your woolen hose. Hose are like very long, thick socks that reach all the way up your legs. They are made of wool from sheep. Wool is a miracle fabric. Even if it gets a bit damp from the misty air, it still keeps you warm. You pull them on slowly. The wool is a bit scratchy, but you quickly forget the itch as your legs begin to feel toasty. You can hear the soft rustle of the fabric as you move. In the dark, the wool looks dark and heavy, the color of a grey stone or a brown tree trunk. Now, you must think about your head. You reach for a small cap made of linen or soft wool. This is a nightcap. You might think it looks a bit funny, but it is very useful. A simple historical fact is that people in the Middle Ages believed that most of your body's heat escapes through your head. If you leave your head bare in a freezing room, you will wake up with a cold nose and a sore throat. You pull the cap down low over your ears. It feels snug and cozy. It blocks out the tiny whispers of wind that sneak through the mud walls. You are now a bundle of fabric. You have your linen shift, your woolen hose, and your warm hose, and your warm cap. You look toward the bed. It is waiting for you in the corner. You walk toward it, your hose-covered feet making no sound on the straw-covered floor. You climb back onto the mattress. The straw inside the mattress makes a loud, dry, crunching sound as you settle in. It is a familiar sound, like the rustling of dry leaves in autumn. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. You lie still for a minute before pulling up the covers. The house is so quiet. You can hear the tiny pop of a cooling coal in the hearth. You can hear the steady, slow breathing of the sheepdog near the door. The darkness feels like a soft, heavy blanket itself. You take a deep breath and the cold air tickles your nose. But the rest of your body is starting to feel like a warm oven. You reach for the top blankets. These are not thin sheets. They are heavy, woven rugs made of thick wool. They are so heavy that they press down on your chest. This weight is good. It makes you feel safe, like you are being held. You pull 1, then 2, then 3 blankets up to your chin. You tuck the edges under your sides so that no cold air can crawl in. You are making a little nest for yourself. In the medieval night shift of life, people knew that the air around the bed was the enemy. If you moved too much, you let the warm air out and the cold air in. So, you learn to lie very still. You wrap your arms around yourself and feel the different textures of the fabrics. You feel the smooth linen of your shift. You feel the fuzzy wool of the blankets. You feel the rougher wool of your hose. Each layer is like a wall in a castle, protecting the tiny flame of your life from the frost outside. Sometimes, people would even wear their outdoor cloaks over their blankets if the night was very bitter. You think about the people in the castle you saw earlier. Even the lords and ladies in their big stone rooms wear many layers. They might have shifts made of fine silk, but they still wear wool and fur to keep the shivers away. Whether you are a king or a farmer, the cold is the same. It makes everyone equal. It makes everyone seek the same comfort of a warm cap and a heavy rug. You think about the sheep that gave the wool for your hose. You imagine them standing in a green field under a summer sun. It is strange to think that the warmth of that summer sun is now trapped in the wool, keeping you safe in the middle of a winter night. It is a nice thought to have as you drift toward the second sleep. You feel very grateful for the animals and the plants that help you stay alive. Your feet are finally starting to feel warm. At first, they were like 2 lumps of ice, but now the woolen hose have done their job. You wiggle your toes and feel the softness of the bed. The straw beneath you has shifted to fit the shape of your body. You feel like you are part of the bed, and the bed is part of the house. Everything is connected. The smoky smell of the hearth is still in the air, but it is faint now. It mixes with the smell of the dried herbs and the floor rushes and the clean scent of your linen shift. It is the smell of a home that is loved and cared for. You close your eyes. The nightcap stays firmly on your head, keeping your thoughts warm. The heavy blankets keep your heart quiet and steady. You are now fully wrapped. You are a little island of heat in a sea of cold. You know that outside, the frost is growing on the trees. You know that the water in the bucket by the door is turning to a sheet of ice. But that does not matter to you now. You have your layers. You have your wool. You have your linen. You have done the work of the night shift to prepare for rest. The silence of the room is like a heavy velvet curtain. You feel your muscles go loose. You feel your mind start to wander into dreams. The last thing you think about is the weight of the blankets. It is a good weight. It is the weight of safety. You are tucked in, you are wrapped up, and you are ready. The second sleep is waiting for you, and it is going to be long and peaceful. You let yourself sink down, deeper and deeper, into the warm, dark history of the night. You lie there in your nest of wool and straw, feeling the weight of the blankets pressing down on you. Your body is warm, but your face still feels the cool touch of the night air. Your eyes drift toward the center of the room, toward the hearth. In the deep dark of the medieval night, the fire is the most important thing in the house. It is more than just a source of heat. It is a living thing that must be guarded. Keeping the fire alive is a vital part of the night shift. If the fire dies, the morning will be a struggle. Starting a fire from nothing in the winter is a long and difficult job. You do not have matches. You do not have a lighter. You have only flint and steel, which are pieces of stone and metal that you strike together to make a tiny spark. In a freezing, damp room, that tiny spark often refuses to grow. You watch the hearth with a careful eye. Even as you prepare to sink back into sleep, you are aware of the glow. The coals are like deep red jewels buried in a bed of grey ash. Every few minutes, a tiny flicker of orange licks the side of a log. You listen to the sound. It is a soft, rhythmic pop and hiss. The sap inside the wood is heating up and escaping. It is a comforting sound, like a tiny heartbeat for the house. The smell of the fire is everywhere. It is a dry, smoky scent that tells you the house is safe. As long as you can smell that smoke and see that glow, the frost cannot win. You see a large metal object sitting near the hearth. It looks like a big, upside-down bowl made of iron or copper. It has holes in the side and a handle on the top. This is a very special tool called a couvre-feu. That is a French word that means cover fire. This is where our modern word curfew comes from. In the medieval world, the curfew was a law. When the big bell in the town or the village church rang in the evening, it was the signal for everyone to cover their fires. This was for safety. Most houses were made of wood and straw. If a fire was left to burn brightly all night while people slept, a single spark could jump out and burn the whole village down. A simple historical fact is that the curfew bell was a part of daily life for hundreds of years. It told people that the day was truly over and the night shift of guarding the house had begun. The couvre-feu is a micro-history detail that shows how clever people were. By placing this metal cover over the glowing coals, you do not put the fire out. Instead, you keep it trapped. The holes in the side let in just enough air so the embers can breathe, but they stay hot and protected. In the morning, you can lift the cover, blow on the coals, add some dry straw, and the fire will roar back to life in seconds. It is a way of saving the fire so you do not have to start over. You watch the father of the house as he prepares the hearth for the rest of the night. He does not go to sleep until he knows the fire is settled. He uses a metal poker to push the coals into a neat pile. He adds a few thick pieces of peat or a heavy log of oak. Peat is like dried, earthy sod that burns very slowly for a long time. Then, he carefully places the couvre-feu over the pile. The room becomes much darker as soon as the cover is in place. The bright orange glow is now hidden, and only tiny beams of red light shine through the small holes in the metal. It looks like a little star-filled lantern sitting on the floor. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The room is now very dark. You can no longer see the corners of the house. You can only see the faint, pulsing red light from the covered fire. The only sound is the wind outside, which seems to be sighing against the walls. It is a very deep, heavy silence. It feels as if the whole world is holding its breath. You feel very safe in this darkness. You know the fire is there, tucked away under its metal blanket. It is like a secret treasure that you are keeping until the sun comes up. You think about the honor of being the one to guard the fire. In the castle, there are servants whose whole job is to move from room to room, checking the hearths. They carry heavy baskets of wood up winding stone stairs. They use long iron tongs to move hot coals. They are the keepers of the warmth for the lords and ladies. But here in the cottage, the job is simpler and more personal. The fire is part of the family. You feed it, you watch it, and it keeps you alive in return. The air in the room is getting even colder now, but the fire is covered. You pull your woolen blankets higher until only your eyes and nose are peeking out. You feel the linen of your nightcap against your forehead. You are glad for all the layers you put on earlier. The cold is a heavy thing. It tries to find any way into your nest. It creeps across the floor and curls around the legs of the bed. But the covered fire is still sending out a tiny bit of heat. It is a gentle warmth that keeps the frost from forming on the inside of the walls. You imagine what it would be like if the fire went out. You would wake up in a room that felt like the inside of a cave. The water in the wooden bucket would be a solid block of ice. Your breath would be thick like a fog. You would have to spend a long time striking metal against stone, hoping for a spark while your fingers turned blue and stiff. You realize that guarding the fire is not just a chore, it is an act of love for the people sleeping beside you. It is the work of the night shift that makes the morning possible. The smoke is very thin now. It drifts up toward the hole in the roof, guided by the cold air. You look at the dark rafters above you. You can see the bundles of dried herbs hanging there. They catch the tiny bits of red light from the covered fire. There is lavender for good dreams and sage for health. They sway just a little bit in the drafts. The house feels alive, even though everyone is still. It is a slow, breathing life made of wood, straw, and the tiny heart of the hearth. You feel your mind starting to drift again. The second sleep is pulling at you. You are no longer thinking about the cold or the wind. You are only thinking about the steady, pulsing red light of the couvre-feu. It is a very soothing thing to watch. It is like a lighthouse in the middle of a dark sea. You know that as long as that light is there, the morning will be okay. You feel a deep sense of peace. You have done your part. You have watched the guardian of the house do his work. The weight of your blankets feels perfect now. Your feet are warm in their woolen hose. Your head is cozy in its cap. You are part of a rhythm that has happened for 1,000 years. Every night the fire is covered. Every night the night shift watches. Every night the world waits for the sun. You let your eyes close. The last thing you see is a tiny spark of red light reflecting on the stone of the hearth. It is a small, quiet promise. The fire will be there when you wake up. The warmth will return. You sink down into the straw, feeling safe and protected by the metal shield of the curfew. The watch continues in the dark, but you are ready to rest. The red glow from the covered fire is very faint now. You are back in your bed, tucked away from the cold drafts of the room. As you lie there, you feel the texture of what is beneath you. In the medieval world, the bed is often the most important thing you own. It is more than just a place to sleep. It is a tool for survival. A simple historical fact is that for many people, the bed was the most expensive and valuable item in the whole house. When people wrote their wills to say who should get their things after they died, the best bed was often the first thing they mentioned. It was a treasure to be passed down from a mother to a daughter or a father to a son. You were lying on a straw mattress. In this time, it is often called a palliasse. That is a fancy name for a big sack made of thick linen cloth that is stuffed full of dried straw or hay. You can feel the stalks of the straw beneath your back. When you move, the mattress makes a dry, rustling sound. It is a loud sound in the quiet room, like someone walking through a field of tall grass in the autumn. The straw is packed tight, but it is not perfectly flat. There are lumps and bumps that you have to wiggle around to find a comfortable spot. Even though it is just straw, it smells good. It smells of the summer fields and the warm sun. Before the straw was put into the sack, it was dried carefully. If it stayed damp, it would smell bad and get moldy. But this straw is dry and sweet. Sometimes people mix in dried flowers or herbs to make it smell even better. You can smell a tiny bit of lavender that was tucked into the corner of the mattress. It is a soft, flowery smell that helps your mind feel quiet. You think about the clever way people look after their straw beds. Every few months, you have to empty out the old straw and put in new, fresh stalks. This is because, over time, the straw gets crushed into tiny bits and becomes hard, like a board. New straw is springy and full of air. That air is important because it acts like a blanket beneath you, keeping the cold of the floor away from your skin. You were glad your mattress was filled recently. It feels thick and bouncy. But now, let your mind wander away from the cottage for a moment. Imagine you are back in the big stone castle. Imagine you are a lord or a lady. Your bed is very different there. You are not lying on straw. You are lying on frail. You are lying on feathers. A feather bed is the ultimate luxury of the medieval night shift. To make one, thousands of tiny soft feathers are taken from geese or ducks. These feathers are cleaned and stuffed into a very expensive silk or fine linen cover. In the castle, the bed is huge. It sits high off the floor on a wooden frame. When you lie on a feather bed, you do not feel lumps or stalks. You feel like you are sinking into a soft, warm cloud. The feathers move around your body, hugging you and trapping all your heat. It is a very different feeling from the crunch of the straw. It is silent and smooth. You imagine the servants in the castle fluffing the mattress, and they use a special tool called a bedstaff. A bedstaff is a long, smooth stick made of wood. The servant uses it to beat the mattress and smooth out the feathers so there are no holes or thin spots. This is a specific microhistory detail of the night shift. The bedstaff helps make the bed perfect for the lord before he climbs in. Back in your cottage, you do not have a bedstaff. You use your hands to push the straw around. You reach down and pat a lump of hay near your hip until it goes flat. It is a bit of work to get comfortable, but there is something nice about it. The straw bed feels strong and honest. It reminds you of the hard work of the harvest. It reminds you of the land. You lie still and listen. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The house is so quiet that the rustle of your straw mattress seems to linger in the air. You can hear the wood of the bed frame give a tiny creak. You can hear the wind outside. But here, inside your linen sack of hay, you are safe. You think about the difference between the straw and the feathers. The feathers are soft and light, but the straw is firm and warm. Both of them do the same job. They keep the night shift of the body going. They give you a place to rest so you can face the frost in the morning. In the medieval world, most people sleep on straw. Only the very rich have feathers. But even the rich people often have a straw mattress underneath their feather one. The straw gives the bed strength, and the feathers give it comfort. It is a team of materials working together. You realize that whether you are on a pile of hay or a cloud of down, the most important thing is the warmth. The bed is your fortress. It is the one place where the winter cannot reach you. You pull your heavy woolen rug up higher. The weight of the rug helps to push the straw down, making the mattress feel more solid. You feel the scratchy wool against your chin and the springy straw against your back. It is a cozy combination. You think about how many people throughout history have slept just like this. They listened to the same rustling sounds. They smelled the same sweet hay. They felt the same relief when they finally found a comfortable spot to rest their heads. The room is very dark now, but in your mind you can see the golden color of the straw. You can see the fields where it grew under the blue summer sky. It is a happy thought to have in the middle of a freezing night. The summer is still there, trapped inside the stalks, waiting to keep you warm. You feel a deep sense of honor to have such a good bed. You know that some people, like travelers or very poor servants, might only have a thin pile of loose straw on the floor. Compared to them, your mattress is a wonderful thing. You wiggle your toes one last time. The woolen hose you put on earlier feels soft against the linen of the mattress cover. You are perfectly tucked in. The straw is settled. The lumps are gone. The lavender smell is floating around your pillow. You feel your heart rate slow down. You feel your breathing become deep and steady. The crunching sound of the straw stops as you go completely still. You are no longer thinking about the difference between the castle and the cottage. You are just feeling the peace of the night. The straw bed is your home for the next few hours. It will hold you and keep you warm until the sun starts to turn the sky grey. You let your head sink into the pillow, which is also filled with soft hay and dried flowers. You feel safe. You feel at home. The straw whispers one last time as you close your eyes, and then there is only the quiet, dark rest of the second sleep. You shift under your heavy, woolen rugs. The straw mattress makes its dry, crunching sound again. Even with the fire covered by the metal curfew, the air in the room is very sharp. It is so cold that your nose feels like a little piece of ice. In the dark, you reach for the two things that will keep you from shivering all through the second sleep. You reach for your cap and your hose. You pick up your nightcap first. In this time, people often call it a coif. A coif is a simple hat that fits very tightly around your head. It is made of white linen. The linen is soft because it has been washed many times in hot water and wood ash. You pull it over your hair and tie the thin strings under your chin. The strings feel cool against your skin for a moment. Then, you feel the warmth start to stay near your head. A simple historical fact is that people long ago believed that the head was like a chimney on a house. They thought that if you did not cover your head, all the heat from your heart and your belly would fly out into the cold room and be lost. They believed this so strongly that almost everyone wore a cap to bed. From the smallest baby to the oldest grandfather, everyone had a covered head at night. It was just as important as having a blanket or a fire. You pull the coif down low over your forehead. Now only your face is open to the chilly air. You feel much better. The cap is like a small, soft room just for your brain. It keeps the drafts away from your ears. You can hear the wind whistling outside, but your ears are warm and quiet. You feel very safe. Now, you move your feet. They are cold even under the blankets. You reach for your woolen hose. These are not like the socks you know today. Modern socks are knitted, which means they are made of one long string looped over and over. But in the medieval world, most hose are made of woven cloth. This is a special microhistory detail. The cloth is cut in a very clever way called on the bias. This means the tailor cuts the fabric at an angle across the threads. This makes the cloth stretch a little bit so it fits your leg tightly even though it is not netted. You pull the hose onto your feet. They're made of thick, grey wool. The wool is heavy and strong. It was made by taking the hair of a sheep and spinning it into thread. Then, a weaver made it into cloth on a big wooden machine. After that, someone did something called fulling. Fulling is when you wash the wool in hot water and beat it so the tiny hairs stick together. This makes the cloth very thick and very warm. It makes it like a soft wall that the cold cannot get through. As you pull them up, the wool feels scratchy against your skin. It is a bit like a tiny tickle that never goes away, but after a minute, you stop feeling the scratch. You only feel the heat. Your toes start to tingle as they get warm again. You tuck the tops of the hose under your shift so they do not slide down while you sleep. Now, from your chin down to your toes, you are wrapped in linen and wool. You lie back down. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. You lie very still in the dark. The house is so quiet that you can hear the tiny tink of the frost growing on the window. You can hear the soft breathing of the other people in the room. In the dark, everyone looks the same. You just see a row of white linen caps on the pillows. It looks very peaceful. You feel a deep sense of honor to be part of this group of people. You are all fighting the cold together. You think about the people who made these things for you. Someone had to grow the flax plants for the linen. Someone had to shear the sheep for the wool. It took many days of work to make just one cap and one pair of hose. They are not just clothes. They are gifts from the land and from the hands of clever people. You feel very lucky to have them. Some people are so poor that they have no hose at all. They have to wrap their feet in old rags or hay to stay warm. You feel the thick, strong wool on your legs, and you feel very rich. The room is getting darker as the fire settles deep into the ashes. You can only see the faint shapes of the wooden beams above you. The air you breathe in is very cold, but it does not matter. Your head is warm in its coif. Your feet are warm in their hose. You feel like you are inside a soft woolen cocoon. The cold is all around you, but it cannot touch you. You wiggle your toes. You can feel the texture of the woven cloth. It is not smooth like silk, but it feels honest. It feels like the earth. You imagine the sheep standing on a windy hill. They have thick coats of wool to keep them safe from the rain and the snow. Now, you are wearing that same coat. It is a very old way of staying warm. People have done this for thousands of years. You are part of a very long line of people who wore wool to survive the night. The nightcap helps you feel quiet inside. When your ears are covered, the sounds of the world seem far away. The rustle of the straw mattress is softer. The sigh of the wind is lower. You feel your eyes getting heavy again. Your thoughts are like slow clouds moving through your mind. You think about the second sleep. It is the best part of the night. It is when the deep rest comes. You pull the heavy rug up to your chin. It touches the bottom of your coif. Now only your nose and your eyes are out in the cold. You feel like a little secret hidden in the bed. The woolen hose are like warm hugs for your legs. You are very cozy. You are very still. You are very still. You are ready to dream. You think about the night watchman outside. He's walking through the cold town. He does not have a warm bed. He has to stay awake and walk in the frost. But he has his own woolen hose and his own thick cap under his hood. Even the person on the night shift needs these simple things. They are the tools of the night. They are what allow humans to live in a world of ice. The darkness is very deep now. You cannot see the floor or the walls. You can only feel the warmth of your clothes and the weight of your blankets. You feel your muscles go loose. You feel your heart beat slowly. 1, 2, 3, 3. It is a very steady rhythm. It is the rhythm of a safe house in the middle of a winter night. You are glad for your cap. You are glad for your hose. They are your friends tonight. They will stay with you until the sun comes up. They will keep your heat inside your body so you do not wake up shivering. You feel a sense of peace that is very deep and very quiet. You are tucked in. You are wrapped up. The world of the cold is far away, even though it is just on the other side of the mud walls. You let your mind go. You stop thinking about the flax and the wool. You just feel the warmth. It is like a soft, glowing light inside you. You sink down into the straw, feeling the hose against your ankles and the coif against your brow. You are part of the night. You are part of the history of the night. You are ready for the deep, long rest of the second sleep. The watch continues, but you are warm. You are safe. You are asleep. The room is very dark now, and the cold is like a heavy weight pressing against the cottage walls. Even with your thick linen cap and your woolen hose, you can still feel the frost creeping across the floor. In the medieval night shift, sometimes clothes and blankets are not enough to keep the shivers away. You need a bit of extra help to make your bed feel like a warm nest. You need the simple tools that people used to trap the heat of the fire and carry it under the covers. You reach down toward the foot of your bed. Your hand finds something hard and smooth. It is a large flat stone. Earlier in the evening, this stone sat near the edge of the hearth. It sat there for hours, slowly soaking up the heat from the glowing coals, until it was almost too hot to touch. Then the mother of the house used a thick piece of old cloth to wrap the stone up tight. She tucked it under your blankets just before you went to your first sleep. This is a specific micro-history detail. Using a bedstone was a very common way to stay warm. It is a simple tool, but it is very clever. A stone can hold on to heat for a long time. Now, in the middle of the night, you can feel that the stone is still warm. It is not as hot as it was, but it feels like a soft, glowing ember against your feet. You push your toes against the wrapped stone and feel the heat travel up your legs. It is a wonderful feeling. It makes the cold air of the room seem much further away. But stones are not the only things people use. In the big castle, or in the houses of rich merchants, they have something a bit fancier. They use a bedpan. This is a metal pan, usually made of brass or copper, with a very long wooden handle. It has a lid with little holes poked in it in the shape of stars or flowers. A servant fills the pan with hot coals from the main fire and then slides it between the sheets. They move it back and forth to warm the bed before the lord or lady climbs in. You can almost hear the soft shush of the metal moving over the linen and smell the faint scent of warm brass and wood smoke. You do not have a brass pan, but you have your stone, and some people have something else. They have a pig. No, it is not a real animal. In the medieval world, a pig is a special kind of bottle made of thick clay or earthenware. It is shaped a bit like a small log or a flat loaf of bread. You fill it with boiling water from the pot on the fire and cork it up tight. Then you wrap it in a woolen rag and put it in your bed. It is just like a modern hot water bottle, but is made of heavy, baked earth. It stays warm almost all night long. A simple historical fact is that these tools were very important for the elderly and for small children. The cold can be dangerous for people who are not strong. Having a warm stone or a clay bottle at their feet could be the difference between a restful night and a night spent shivering. It shows that even in a world without machines, people were very good at finding ways to look after each other. They used the earth and the fire to make the night kinder. You lie still and listen to the house. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The only sound is the wind outside, which is making the trees creak like old stairs. Inside, it is very quiet. You can feel the steady warmth of the bedstones spreading through the straw of your mattress. It makes a little circle of heat just for you. You feel a sense of honor to have this warmth. You know that someone had to remember to put the stone by the fire. Someone had to wrap it and tuck it in for you. It is a small act of kindness that makes the night feel much warmer than the fire ever could. You think about the pot on the hearth. It is still there, under its metal cover, holding on to the heat. The stone in your bed is like a little piece of that hearth that you have brought with you. It is a connection to the heart of the home. You feel very safe. You know that as long as the stone is warm, you can stay in your second sleep without waking up from the chill. You move your feet again, feeling the rough texture of the cloth wrapped around the stone. The wool of your hose rubs against the cloth, and the heat seeps through both layers. It feels like your feet are being hugged. You imagine the stone when it was first picked up from a river or a field. It was cold and wet then, but now it is a helper. It has a job to do on the night shift, and it is doing it very well. The room is so dark that you cannot see your own hands, but you don't need to see. You can feel everything you need. You feel the heavy woolen rugs. You feel the springy straw. You feel the warm stone. Your nose is cold, but your heart is warm. You think about how people for thousands of years have used stones just like this one. They sat by fires in caves or in tents and heated rocks to keep the winter away. You are part of that very old story. You feel your body getting heavier. The warmth from the stone is making your muscles go loose. You are no longer worried about the wind or the frost. You are just a warm bundle of linen and wool, resting on a bed of sweet straw. The second sleep is pulling at your mind, like a gentle tide pulling at a boat. You are ready to go back into the dark, peaceful world of dreams. You think about the clay pig bottles in the big houses. You think about the warm water inside them, slowly cooling as the night goes on. Every house has its own way of fighting the frost. Whether it is a stone, a pan, or a bottle, the goal is the same. It is to keep the spark of life warm until the sun comes back to the sky. You take one last deep breath of the cold, smoky air. It doesn't bother you now. You have your stone, you have your nest. You are part of the quiet history of the night shift. You feel a deep sense of peace. You let your feet rest against the stone, and you let your eyes close. The darkness is kind. The warmth is steady. You are safe. You are tucked in. And now you are ready to sleep the deep sleep of the middle of the night. The warmth from the bedstone at your feet is a steady comfort, but it is not the only thing keeping you from the cold. As you settle into the straw mattress for your second sleep, you are aware of the people lying right next to you. In the medieval world, the night shift of staying warm is a team effort. A simple historical fact is that almost nobody sleeps alone. Whether you are in a small village cottage or a grand city house, you share your bed with your family. Mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers all huddle together under the same heavy rugs. You feel the gentle weight of your younger brother's shoulder against your arm. You hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of your parents on the other side of the bed. This is not because the house is too small. That is often true. It is because humans are the best heaters of all. A single person in a cold room will lose their heat quickly, but 4 or 5 people tucked together create a pocket of warmth that the frost cannot break. By sharing a bed, you are helping each other stay alive through the freezing night. In the dark, you do not need to see to know they are there. You can feel the warmth of their bodies through the layers of wool and linen. This is a specific microhistory detail of the night. People called this bed fellowship. It was a very normal part of life. Even if a guest came to stay at your house, they would often be invited to share the big family bed. It was considered a kind and honourable thing to do. To give someone a place in your bed was to give them safety from the winter. You think about the people in the castle. Even there, the lords and ladies are rarely alone. A lady might have her youngest children in the bed with her, or her most trusted servant might sleep on a small pull-out bed called a trundle bed. A trundle bed is a low wooden frame with wheels that slides right under the big main bed during the day. At night, the servant pulls it out so they can be close by if the lady needs water or more wood for the fire. The closeness makes everyone feel safer in the big echoing stone rooms. You lie still and listen to the house. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The only sound is the collective breathing of your family. It sounds like a soft tide coming in and out on a sandy beach. It is a very soothing sound. It tells you that everyone is safe. You feel a deep sense of peace knowing that you are not facing the long night by yourself. If you get a shiver, you can move a little closer to your brother. If the blankets slip, someone will pull them back up in their sleep. You are a circle of warmth that the cold wind cannot touch. The straw beneath you rustles as someone moves their leg. You feel the scratchy wool of the top rug and the softness of the linen shift against your skin. You are glad for your woolen hose, but you are even more glad for the heat of the people beside you. You think about how this has been the way of the world for a very long time. In the ancient days, people sat around big fires and slept in heaps to keep the ice away. You are part of that old, human rhythm. In the city, bed sharing is just as common. Sometimes, at an inn where travelers stay, the beds are very wide. The innkeeper might put 3 or 4 strangers in the same bed. It might feel a bit crowded, but in a room with no fire, you would be happy to have the warmth of another person. People did not worry about privacy the way we do now. They worried about the frost. They knew that being close was the best way to survive the night shift of winter. You feel your younger brother sigh in his sleep. He is warm like a little stove. You realize that this closeness creates a special bond. You grow up listening to the heartbeats of your family. You know the sound of their breath and the way they move when they dream. It makes the house feel like a very tight, strong unit. The mud walls of the cottage might be thin, and the thatch roof might leak a little, but the people inside are a fortress. You imagine the cold outside. It is biting at the trees. It is freezing the water in the troughs. It is turning the mud on the road into iron. But here, under the rugs, the air is warm and still. The bedfellowship is warmed. You feel a deep sense of honor to be the one who keeps your brother warm, just as he keeps you warm. You are all guardians for each other. The darkness is very thick, but it feels friendly. You are tucked into your nest, surrounded by the people you love. The bedstone is still glowing with heat at your feet, and the bodies beside you are glowing with life. You feel your muscles go loose. The second sleep is calling to you again, much stronger now. You are not just one person in the dark. You are part of a warm, breathing whole. You think about the morning. You will all wake up together when the first light hits the thatch. You will help each other out of the blankets and toward the hearth. But for now, there is only the quiet and the heat. You are glad for the weight of the rugs and the touch of your family. It is the simplest kind of comfort, and it is the best. You let your eyes close. Your head is cozy in its linen cap. Your feet are toasted by the stone. Your heart is quiet because your family is near. You sink down into the straw, feeling the steady rise and fall of the breathing around you. It is a lullaby that has no words. You are safe. You are warm. You are part of the long, kind history of the night. The frost can whistle at the door all at once, but it cannot come inside your circle. You drift away into the deep, peaceful world of the second sleep. The night continues its slow march, and the air in your cottage remains still. But far away, across the frozen fields and over the dark hills, another kind of life is stirring. You must leave the warmth of your straw bed and your family's breath for a moment to see the most difficult night shift of all. Imagine you are standing in a large, cold room made of grey stone. This is the dormitory of a monastery. A monastery is a big building where men called monks live, work, and pray. In the medieval world, the monks are the keepers of the spirit. They believe it is their job to pray for everyone else while the world is asleep. While you are enjoying your second sleep, the monks are waking up. It is about 2 o'clock in the morning. The air in this stone room is so cold it feels sharp, like a tiny knife. There is no fire here. The monks believe that living a hard life makes them closer to God. They do not have soft feather beds or thick woolen rugs. They sleep on simple wooden boards with a thin layer of straw and one plain blanket. You watch as the monks rise. They do not speak. They move like shadows in the dim light of a few small candles. A simple historical fact is that monks always slept in their clothes. They wore a long robe called a habit. It was made of very coarse, dark wool. By sleeping in their clothes, they were always ready to jump up and go to the church when the bell rang. They did not have time to dress or warm their hands. They simply stood up, pulled their hoods over their heads, and began their work. You follow them as they walk down a long dark hallway called a cloister. The floor is made of cold tiles. Even through their thick woolen socks and leather sandals, the cold of the ground travels up into their legs. This is the night office, the series of prayers that happen in the middle of the night. The most famous one is called matins. You enter the church with them. It is a massive space with high ceilings that disappear into the blackness. The only light comes from a few candles on the altar. This is a specific microhistory detail. The monks carry small hollowed-out stones called cresset lamps. These are stones with a little hole in the middle filled with oil and a floating wick made of dried grass. The light they give is very tiny, just enough to see the book in their hands, but not enough to warm the air. The monks' breath comes out in thick clouds of mist, swirling around their faces like incense as they begin to chant. You sit on a cold wooden bench and listen. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The church is so big that the sound of the monks' voices echoes off the stone walls. They sing in a very low, steady rhythm. It is a sound that feels as old as the mountains. There is no music, just the sound of human voices rising and falling together. It is a beautiful sound, but it is also a lonely one. Outside, the world is a frozen wasteland. Inside, these men are singing to the dark, hoping to bring light to the morning. The monks' hands are tucked into their long sleeves to keep them from turning blue. Some of the older monks have small heaters called warming bowls. These are hollow metal globes, about the size of an apple, filled with hot coals or a warm piece of iron. They hold them in their palms to keep their fingers from becoming too stiff to turn the pages of their prayer books. You can see the faint glow of the metal between their fingers. It is a tiny victory over the winter. You think about the honor of this work. While the farmers are tucked into their straw and the lords are hidden behind their velvet curtains, these men are standing in the ice. They believe their prayers are like a wall of fire, protecting the souls of everyone in the land. They do not complain about the cold. They accept it as part of their duty. They are the soldiers of the night shift, fighting the darkness with their songs. The chanting continues for a long time. The stone of the church seems to soak up the sound. You feel the chill of the bench seeping through your cloak. You realize how hard this life is. There is no middle hour of quiet talk here. There is only the work of prayer. When they are finished, they will walk back down the cold cloister and return to their hard beds for a few more hours of rest before the sun comes up. You watch an old monk as he bows his head. His face is lined with years of waking up in the frost. He looks very tired, but he also looks very peaceful. To him, the cold is just a temporary thing. The light he is praying for is eternal. You feel a deep sense of respect for his strength. It takes a very brave heart to leave a bed at 2 a.m. to stand in a stone room and sing. The air in the church is so still it feels like it has been frozen for 100 years. The smell of the oil from the cresset lamps is heavy and a bit greasy. It mixes with the smell of old stone and cold wax. It is a very somber smell. It makes you think of all the monks who have stood in this same spot for centuries doing the exact same thing. The night shift never changes for them. The seasons turn and the winters come and go, but the prayers stay the same. You imagine the monks returning to the dormitory. They will lie down on their straw and pull their single blanket up. They will try to find a little bit of warmth before the next bell rings at dawn. They are masters of being still. They know how to wait for the morning without being restless. You feel lucky to have seen this quiet, cold world. It makes your own straw bed in the cottage seem like a palace. You walk back out the church and across the dark fields toward the village. The sound of the monks chanting stays with you, humming in the back of your mind. The stars are still bright, but the sky is starting to turn a very deep purple. The night is slowly moving toward its end. You think about the warming balls and the cresset lamps. You think about the woolen habits and the stone floors. When you reach the cottage, you duck inside and find your family still sleeping. The warmth of the room hits you like a soft wave. You crawl back into your spot in the big bed. Your brother is still warm. The bedstone is still giving off a tiny bit of heat. You feel a sense of peace that is different from before. You are grateful for the monks and their night shift. You feel like the world is a little bit safer because they are awake. You pull the rugs up to your chin. The coif on your head feels snug. The hose on your legs feels soft. You are ready for the last part of your second sleep. The chanting in your head fades away. replaced by the steady breathing of your family. You sink down, feeling the heavy wool and the springy straw. The frost is still outside, but the night is nearly done. You let yourself go, falling back into the deep, dark history of the sleep that leads to the sun. The cold stone of the monastery fades from your mind as you return to the village. But now, we must travel back up the hill to the great castle once more. Inside its thick walls, the lords and ladies are still tucked away in their private chambers, while the peasants huddle together in a single room. The rich have a different way of keeping the night shift warm. They do not rely only on the heat of other people. They use their beds like small private houses. This is the world of the canopy bed. You stand in a large bedroom. The floor is covered in thick, woven rugs that feel soft under your hose. In the center of the room is the bed. It is huge, made of dark carved oak. It has 4 tall posts at each corner that reach up toward the ceiling. On top of these posts is a wooden frame covered in fabric. This is the canopy. Hanging down from the frame on all 4 sides are heavy curtains made of velvet or thick wool. Right now, the curtains are pulled shut. The bed looks like a big, beautiful box sitting in the middle of the empty room. A simple historical fact is that the canopy bed was invented to fight the drafts of the castle. In a room with high ceilings and stone walls, a fire in the hearth cannot warm all the air. The heat simply rises up to the roof and disappears. But with a canopy bed, you can create a tiny room within the room. When you pull the curtains tight, the heat from your own body stays trapped inside the fabric. You are warming a small space instead of a giant hall. It is a very clever way to survive the frost. You reach out and pull one of the velvet curtains aside just a few inches. A wave of warm, stale air hits your face. It smells of clean linen, lavender, and the scent of a person sleeping. Inside the curtains, it is much warmer than the rest of the room. You can see the Lord sleeping under a mountain of covers. He is not just using woolen rugs. He is using a duvet. This is a micro-history detail. A duvet is a large bag made of fine linen or silk, stuffed full of the softest down feathers from the bellies of geese. It is very light, but it is the warmest thing in the medieval world. The Lord is also using a long narrow pillow called a bolster. It stretches all the way across the head of the bed. It is firm and helps to keep his head high. People in the castle often sleep propped up on many pillows because they believe it helps them breathe better in the smoky air. You watch the slow rise and fall of the duvet. The curtains are doing their job perfectly. They are like walls made of cloth, blocking the cold breeze that is whistling through the arrow slits in the stone walls outside. You let the curtain fall back into place. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. In the room outside the bed, it is very quiet. You can hear the fire in the hearth clicking as it cools down. You can hear the wind outside pushing against the heavy wooden shutters. But inside that velvet box, it is silent and still. The person on the night shift who made this bed the chamberlain did their job well. They made sure the curtains were overlapping so no gap was left for the cold to creep in. You think about the honor of having such a bed. It is not just about being rich. It is about having a place where you can truly forget the winter, while the monks are standing on cold stone and the peasants are feeling the drafts through the mud walls. The Lord is in a world of silk and feathers. He has built a fortress against the night, and he is safe inside it. However, even with the canopy, the night shift of guarding the heat continues. A small table sits next to the bed. On it is a silver cup of spiced wine and a single candle. If the Lord wakes up in the middle hour, he can pull the curtains back just a bit, take a drink, and check the fire. The curtains are heavy, and they are often lined with a different fabric to make them even thicker. Sometimes they are even embroidered with pictures of flowers or animals, but their main job is always the same, to be a shield. You look at the bottom of the bed curtains. They are weighted with small lead sinkers or thick fringe so they stay flat against the floor. This keeps the cold air from sliding underneath. It is a very detailed way of living. Every part of the bed is designed to trap warmth. Even the wooden headboard is tall and thick, to block the chill of the stone wall behind it. You realize that the people in the castle spend a lot of time thinking about how to stay cozy. The room is very dim, but the velvet of the curtains has a soft glow in the moonlight. You feel a sense of peace here, even though it is a different kind of peace than in the cottage. Here, the peace is made of many layers of fabric and careful work. It is a quiet, expensive rest. You think about the servant who has to wake up early to draw the curtains back and let the cold morning air in. That will be a sharp shock for the person sleeping inside. You imagine being the person inside the bed. You would feel the soft feathers beneath you and the heavy duvet on top. You would hear the muffled sounds of the castle through the thick velvet. You would feel completely hidden from the world. It would be easy to sleep through the second sleep in a place like this. The canopy bed is like a warm, dark secret. But soon the night shift for the castle servants will begin in earnest. They will come in to stir the fire and bring warm water for washing. For now, though, the velvet box remains closed. The drafts wander around the room, touching the cold stone and the iron chests, but they cannot get past the curtains. The warmth of the Lord's body is a treasure kept safe by the weavers and the tailors. You take a deep breath. The air in the room is sharp and smells of old wax. You look at the big bed one last time. It looks so heavy and solid. It is a piece of history that you can touch. You turn and walk back toward the door, your hose moving silently over the rugs. You are moving back toward the colder parts of the castle, but you carry the image of the canopy bed with you. It is a reminder that humans will always find a way to be comfortable, no matter how thick the stone or how cold the wind. You leave the Lord to his velvet dreams and step back into the long, quiet shadows of the hallway. The night is still deep. The watch continues. But inside the canopy, the winter has been forgotten. You feel a sense of calm as you move away, knowing that even in the heart of a frozen castle, there is a place where the air is as warm as a summer afternoon. You head back toward the stairs, ready to see what else the night shift has to keep hidden in the dark. The second sleep is still holding the castle in its grip. The hallways are empty, the torches are low, but the canopy beds are full of warmth, and that is what matters most. You walk slowly, letting the silence guide you toward the next part of the story. There is much more to see before the sun comes over the hills. For now, the castle sleeps, and the velvet curtains hold the heat tight. The velvet curtains of the castle beds stay closed, keeping the heat inside that soft, dark box. But even a canopy bed cannot stay warm if the room itself is a frozen cave. You move away from the big oak frame and walk toward the wall. Here, you see a window. In the medieval world, a window is not just a piece of glass to look through. It is a hole in the stone that must be guarded with great care. On the night shift of staying warm, the way you close your windows is just as important as the way you build your fire. You reach out and touch the window. In this castle room, there is a small pane of glass. It is thick and green, like the water in a deep pond. It is not flat and smooth. It is made of small, round pieces of glass held together by strips of lead. Because the glass is so thick and wavy, you cannot see the world outside clearly. You can only see the faint, blurry light of the moon. This glass is very expensive. A simple historical fact is that glass was so rare that many lords would actually take their glass windows out of the frames and pack them away in wooden boxes when they travelled to another castle. They did not want to leave such a treasure behind where it might get broken. But even with glass, the window is a cold place. The wind pushes against the lead strips, and you can hear the tiny, high-pitched whistle as the air tries to get inside. To fight this, the night shift uses a very simple tool, the shutter. You see two heavy doors made of oak wood attached to the inside of the window frame. They are thick and solid. You pull them shut, and they meet in the middle with a heavy thud. You slide a wooden bar across them to lock them tight. Suddenly the room feels much quieter. The whistling sound stops. The shutters are like a second wall of wood protecting the glass. In the village cottages, there is no glass at all. Glass costs more than a peasant might earn in a whole year. Instead, their windows are just small square holes in the mud walls. To keep the frost out, they use a specific microhistory detail, oiled cloth or scraped horn. A piece of linen cloth is soaked in oil or animal fat until it becomes see-through. Then it is stretched tight over a wooden frame and tucked into the window hole. It lets in a tiny bit of grey light, but it keeps the snow and the wind out. If they do not have cloth, they might use thin slices of cow horn, just like the lanterns you saw earlier. It is a clever way to use every part of the animal to stay warm. You stand by the closed shutters in the castle room. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The room is now completely dark because you have blocked out the moonlight. You can hear the wood of the shutters creak as the wind hits them from the outside. It sounds like the castle is groaning in its sleep. You feel the heavy, cold stone of the wall next to your hand. Without the shutters, the air near the window would be so cold it could freeze a cup of water in minutes. But now, the wood is holding the chill back. You think about the people who live in the city. Their houses are tall and thin, made of wood and plaster. Their windows often hang out over the narrow streets. At night, They pull their shutters closed and latch them with iron hooks. The sound of hundreds of shutters closing at sunset is the signal that the city is going to sleep. It is a loud, clattering sound that echoes through the lanes. Once the shutters are closed, the streets become dark tunnels, but the houses become cozy nests. You move to the edge of the shutter and feel for a draft. Even with the wood closed, a tiny stream of cold air is sneaking in through a crack. This is where the night shift gets very detailed. People would often take old rags, dried moss, or even bits of loose wool and stuff them into the gaps around the windows and doors. This is called caulking. You see a bit of grey wool poking out from the side of the shutter. Someone, a servant or the Lord himself, pushed it there to stop the breeze. It is a small thing, but in the middle of a winter night, a tiny draught can feel like a cold finger touching your neck. You think about the honour of the people who build these windows. A master glazier, the person who makes the glass, has to be very careful. They have to make sure the lead is strong and the glass fits perfectly. A carpenter has to make sure the shutters are thick and the hinges are heavy. Their work is what keeps the castle from becoming a cold, windy tower. You feel a sense of respect for these workers. They are the ones who make it possible for the Lord to sleep in his canopy bed without feeling the storm. The air in the room is starting to settle. Now that the shutters are closed and the drafts are stuffed with wool, the warmth from the cooling hearth stays in the air longer. You look toward the door. It also has a heavy curtain hanging over it, made of thick grey wool. This is called a portière. It blocks the air that sneaks in under the door from the cold hallways. The room is like a series of boxes. The castle is the big box, the room is the middle box, and the bed is the small box. Each box has its own walls and its own guards against the frost. You imagine the world outside the shutters. The trees are covered in white frost. The moat is a sheet of black ice. The wind is whipping across the hills looking for a way in, but it cannot get past the oak. It cannot get past the lid. It cannot get past the wool. You feel very safe and very hidden. The night shift of the house is working perfectly. You think about the morning. When the sun finally comes up, the shutters will be opened. The light will hit the frost on the glass and make it glow like diamonds. The room will be filled with the crisp, cold smell of the winter morning. But for now, you want the darkness, you want the stillness. The closed shutters make the room feel small and kind. They remind you that humans are very good at building barriers against the wild world. You walk away from the window, back toward the center of the room. Your hose make a soft shush on the rugs. You look at the dark shape of the bed. You know that the Lord inside is warm. You know that the family in the cottage is warm. Everyone is tucked away behind their own shutters and their own doors. The night is long, but the wood and the stone are strong. You feel your own eyes getting heavy again. The walk through the cold castle has made you appreciate the stillness of the room. You find a heavy chair near the hearth and sit down for a moment. The wood of the chair is cool, but the air around you is soft. You listen to the silence of the closed window. It is a very deep, solid silence. It is the sound of the winter being kept outside where it belongs. The night watchman outside might hear the wind, but you do not. You only hear the quiet. You let your head rest against the back of the chair. The second sleep is still calling to you, and now that the shutters are barred, you feel ready to answer it. You are part of the protected world. You are inside the box, safe from the frost. You let yourself sink into the quiet, feeling the peace of the barred window and the heavy oak doors. The night continues, but the room is a sanctuary. The heavy shutters are barred, and the room in the castle is still. You leave the big stone chamber and walk back down to the village. The night is at its coldest point now. Even with your thick woolen hose and your linen coif, the chill starts to reach into your bones. You need something to warm you from the inside out. You head toward the local inn, a small building with a sign that swings in the wind. Inside, a low fire is burning, and the air is thick with a scent that is both sweet and sharp. This is the smell of the mulled ale, the favourite night shift drink of the medieval world. You sit at a long, scarred wooden table. The innkeeper, a man with a wide face and hands stained by grain, brings you a heavy mug made of thick clay. It is so hot that steam rises from it in a swirling white cloud. In the Middle Ages, people did not drink much plain water, especially in the winter. Water from the well could be dirty or frozen solid. Instead, they drank ale. Ale is a simple drink made from water, malted barley, and yeast. It is thick and full of energy, like liquid bread. But on a freezing night like this, plain ale is not enough. To make it a true winter comfort, the innkeeper has mulled it. This means he has heated the ale in a big iron pot over the fire and added many special things to it. A simple historical fact is that spices like cinnamon, ginger, and cloves were very precious. They came from lands far across the sea. Even a small pinch of these spices was a sign of a special occasion. By adding them to the ale, the innkeeper turns a simple drink into a powerful medicine against the cold. You take a small sip. The liquid is warm and a bit spicy. It tastes of honey, which was used to make the bitter ale sweet. Then you taste the bite of the ginger and the deep, woody smell of the cloves. It feels like a small fire is spreading down your throat and into your chest. This is a specific microhistory detail of the night. People often used a loggerhead to heat their drinks. A loggerhead is a long iron rod with a heavy ball on the end. The innkeeper leaves the iron ball in the red-hot coals of the hearth until it glows like a sun. Then he plunges the glowing metal directly into the mug of ale. The drink hisses and bubbles instantly, creating a thick foam and a deep, toasted smell. You hold the warm clay mug with both hands. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The inn is nearly empty. Most people are already tucked away in their straw beds for the second sleep. You can hear the crackle of the logs in the hearth. You can hear the muffled thud of snow falling from the roof outside. The warmth of the mug seeps through your skin and into your palms. You feel your shoulders relax. The mulled ale is doing its work. It is relaxing your muscles and making your thoughts feel soft and slow. You think about the honor of the harvest. Every drop of this ale came from the hard work of the village. The barley was grown in the big open fields. The honey was gathered from hives in the orchard. The wood for the fire was chopped and stacked by the strong men of the town. When you drink this, you are tasting the work of the whole year. It is a gift from the land to help you get through the dark months. It reminds you that even when the ground is frozen and dead, the life of the summer is still here, stored in the grain and the jars. In the castle, the lords drink something similar called hypocras. This is red wine mixed with sugar and even more expensive spices like long pepper and grains of paradise. It is strained through a cloth until it's clear and glowing like a ruby. Whether it is ale for the farmer or wine for the lord, the goal is the same. It is to give the body a boost of heat before the final rest of the night. It is a way of stoking the engine of the body so the heart stays strong until the sun rises. You look into your mug. The foam on top is thick and creamy. You see a small piece of toasted bread floating in the liquid. This is called a sop. In the medieval world, nothing is wasted. The bread soaks up the spicy ale and becomes a soft, warm treat at the bottom of the cup. Eating the sop is often the best part of the drink. It is filling and sweet, and it stays in your belly like a warm stone. The room is very dim. The only light comes from the hearth and a single tallow candle on the bar. Tallow candles are made from animal fat. They smell a bit like cooked meat, and they flicker a lot, but they give a golden light that feels very cozy. You watch the shadows of the mugs and bowls on the wall. They look like big, friendly giants. You feel very safe here in the quiet inn. The cold world outside seems like a dream. You think about the night watchman who might stop here for a moment during his rounds. He would stand by the fire, his cloak dripping with melted frost, and drink a mug of ale just like this one. It would give him the strength to go back out into the wind and the dark. The mulled ale is the fuel for the night shift. It is the liquid sunshine that keeps the village going when the real sun is hidden. You take one last sip, making sure to catch the sop at the bottom. The heat from the drink has reached all the way to your toes. You no longer feel the shivers that you had when you walked through the door. You feel heavy and ready for bed. The ale has made your eyelids droop. Your mind is full of the scent of cinnamon and the glow of the hearth. You stand up slowly, your hose moving quietly on the rushes. You nod to the innkeeper, who is busy cleaning a wooden bowl. You step back out into the night. The air is still freezing, but you don't mind it as much now. You have a fire in your belly that will last until you get back to your cottage. You walk down the narrow lane, your breath still smelling of honey and spice. You think about your straw bed and the bedstone that is waiting for you. Between the wool on your back, the stone at your feet, and the ale in your stomach, you are a fortress of warmth. You are ready for the final stretch of the second sleep. The night shift of the body is well supplied. You feel a deep sense of peace as you reach your door and slip back inside. The cottage is quiet. Your family is still. You crawl back into your place, feeling the weight of the rugs once more. You close your eyes, and the taste of the spiced ale lingers on your tongue. It is a kind, warm memory that guides you back down into the dark, peaceful history of the night. You are safe. You are warm. You are safe. You have returned to your cottage, but the warmth of the mulled ale is not the only thing keeping the air from turning into ice. You move away from the family bed and look toward the thin wooden wall at the back of the room. In the medieval world, the night shift of staying warm often involves more than just humans. To survive the deep frost of a winter night, you must look to your animals. A simple historical fact is that many peasant houses were built as longhouses. This means that one half of the building was for the people, and the other half was a stable for the cows, sheep, and goats. You step through a low wooden gate into the stable side of the house. The air here is much thicker and heavier than in the living room. It smells of dried hay, manure, and the deep, earthy scent of living fur. It is not a bad smell, it is the smell of life and wealth. If a family has animals, they have milk, wool, and food, but in the middle of the night, these animals have another job. They are living heaters. A large cow can give off as much heat as a small fire. By keeping them inside the house, the family uses the natural warmth of the animals' bodies to keep the whole cottage from freezing. You see a large brown cow lying in a thick pile of straw. She is very still, her head resting on her front legs. As she breathes, a cloud of warm mist comes from her nose. You reach out and touch her side. Her hide is thick and rough, and beneath it you can feel the steady, pulsing heat of her body. It is a deep, glowing warmth. This is a specific microhistory detail of the night. Farmers often used a byre wall. This was a wall made of loose wooden planks or woven sticks that allowed the heat of the animals to drift into the human sleeping area while keeping the animals from wandering into the hearth. You sit down on a pile of hay near the cow. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The only sounds are the rhythmic huff of the cow's breath and the soft chewing of a sheep in the corner. It is a very calm, slow sound. The animals are not restless. They are saving their energy just like you. You feel the warmth of the stable wrapping around you like a heavy cloak. It is a different kind of heat than the fire. The fire is sharp and dry, but animal heat is soft and damp. It fills the room and stays there long after the logs have turned to ash. You think about the honor of the beasts. In the medieval world, animals are not just things you own, they are partners in survival. The sheep gave the wool for your hose. The cow will give the milk for your morning porridge. And tonight they are giving their very breath to keep you safe from the frost. You feel a deep sense of gratitude for them. Without these large, quiet creatures, the cottage would be a much colder and lonelier place. They are the silent workers of the night shift, keeping the house alive while the world outside is locked in ice. In the corner, you see a few chickens perched on a wooden rail. They are fluffed up into little balls of feathers to keep their own heat in. Even the smallest animal helps. Every heartbeat in this room is a tiny flame against the winter. You realize that the longhouse is a very clever invention. It is a complete world under one roof. The thatch keeps the snow out, the walls keep the wind out, and the living beings inside keep the cold out. You think about the city. In the town, people do not have room for cows in their houses. They have to buy expensive wood or coal to stay warm. But here in the country, you have a renewable source of heat that eats grass and gives back milk. It is a very simple and beautiful way to live. You watch the cow's ear twitch as she dreams. You wonder what she dreams about. Maybe she dreams of the green meadows of June and the taste of sweet clover. You feel your own eyes getting heavy. The warmth of the stable is making you feel very drowsy. The smell of the hay is like a soft perfume that pulls you toward sleep. You stand up slowly, being careful not to startle the sheep. You move back toward the gate and into the living area. The air here is a little bit fresher, but you can still feel the breath of the buyer, keeping the room cozy. You think about the night watchman in the castle. He has stone walls and iron gates, but he does not have the warmth of 1,000 pounds of living muscle and fur. You feel very lucky to be a villager tonight. You have the best heaters in the world. They don't need to be lit with flint and steel, and they never run out of wood. They just need a bit of hay and a kind word. You crawl back into your straw bed. You feel the heat of your family on one side and the ghost of the animal's warmth on the other. You are tucked between two worlds of life. The straw mattress rustles, but it sounds like the hay in the stable. You are perfectly placed. Your feet are near the bedstone. Your head is in its coif, and your belly is full of mulled ale. The darkness is very deep now, but it is a living darkness. The house is full of the sounds of life. The dog near the door sighs. The cow in the stable shifts. Your brother murmurs something in his sleep. It is a very busy kind of quiet. You feel like you are part of a great breathing machine that is designed to stay warm until the sun comes up. You let your mind go. You stop thinking about the sheep and the cows. You just feel the peace of the house. You know that outside, the wolves are howling in the woods and the frost is thick on the fields. That here, inside the longhouse, the winter cannot reach you. You are part of the herd. You are safe. You are warm. You sink down into the straw, feeling the deep, steady history of the night shift around you. The second sleep is finally here, and it is as warm as the breath of a sleeping cow. The deep, steady warmth of the stable still hangs in the air of the cottage. You are tucked back into your straw bed, but as the middle of the night passes, you notice that the house is not entirely still. This is the time when the night shift of quiet work begins, while the first sleep was for rest. The hour between the two sleeps is often used for small, necessary tasks. In the medieval world, winter nights are so long that people cannot spend all 16 hours in bed. They wake up, and in the soft, grey light of the dying fire, they do the work of the hands. You look toward the hearth. The mother of the house is awake. She is not making a loud noise, and she is not moving quickly. She is sitting on a low stool with a wooden tool in her lap. This is a spindle. It is a straight piece of wood with a heavy weight at the bottom, called a whorl. In her other hand, she holds a bundle of raw wool. She is spinning. She pulls a few hairs of the wool, twists them between her fingers, and drops the spindle. It spins like a top, twisting the wool into a strong thread. A simple historical fact is that spinning was the most common job for women in the winter. It was done every single night. The word spinster actually comes from this time, meaning a woman who spends her days and nights spinning thread, because the family needs new clothes, blankets, and hose every year. The work never stops. The mother moves her hands in a rhythm she could do with her eyes closed. Pull, twist, drop. Pull, twist, drop. It is a very soothing sight. The motion of the spindle is like a small dance in the shadows. This is a specific microhistory detail of the middle hour. Most women used a distaff to help them. A distaff is a long stick that holds the big bunch of unspun wool. Sometimes they would tuck the distaff under their arm or into their belt so they could spin while they walked or sat. Tonight, the distaff is propped against her shoulder. The wool looks like a white cloud in the dim light. As she spins, the thread grows longer and longer, winding around the wood of the spindle. This thread will later be woven into the thick grey cloth that keeps you warm in the frost. You lie still and watch her. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The only sounds are the soft whir of the spindle and the occasional clack as it hits the wooden floor. It is a very peaceful sound. It makes the night feel productive, even though the world outside is frozen. You feel a deep sense of honor to be in a house where the hands are always busy. You know that every inch of thread she makes is another bit of safety for the family. It is the work of the night shift that builds the clothes of the morning. You see the father stir as well. He does not get up, but he reaches for a piece of wood and a small knife. He is whittling. He is carving a new handle for a tool, or perhaps a small wooden spoon. The tiny shaving sound of the knife moving through the wood is crisp and clean. He is making something useful out of a branch he found in the autumn. In the medieval world, you do not buy new things from a shop. You make them with your hands during the long nights of winter. You think about how this middle hour is a time of quiet connection. The mother and father are not talking, but they are working together. They are making the house better while the children dream. It feels like a secret time, a time when the parents are the guardians of the house's future. You feel very safe watching them. The fire is just a red eye in the hearth, but the work of their hands gives off a different kind of warmth. It is the warmth of purpose. In the monastery, the monks are doing similar quiet work. Some are in the scriptorium, which is the room for writing. By the light of a single candle, they are copying old books onto parchment made of sheepskin. They use a quill, which is a pen made from a large bird feather. The scratch of the quill on the skin is the only sound in the room. They are preserving the history of the world, one letter at a time, while the frost grows on the stone walls outside. You think about the city too. There a tailor might be sitting near a small lamp, sewing a fine silk gown for a rich merchant. His needle moves in and out of the fabric, silver and quick. Everyone is doing something in this middle hour. The night shift is a busy time for the hands, even if the legs are resting. It is how the medieval world catches up with the long darkness. You feel a sense of peace as you watch the mother spin. The thread is smooth and even. She is very skilled. You realize that your own woolen hose started out just like this, as a cloud of wool on a distaff. It makes you value your clothes even more. They are made of time. They are made of the quiet hours of the night. Every stitch and every twist of the thread is a piece of the mother's care for you. The spindle stops spinning for a moment. She winds the new thread onto the new thread onto the wood and starts again. Pull, twist, drop. The rhythm is like a lullaby. It makes your own eyes feel heavy. The work of the night shift is nearly done for this hour. Soon she will put away the wool and the spindle and return to the bed for her own second sleep. The father will put down his knife and the wooden spoon he is making. The house will go back to its deepest silence. You think about the honor of the spindle and the knife. They are simple tools, but they are powerful. They turn the raw things of nature into the useful things of life. They are the tools that fight the winter. You feel a deep sense of respect for the hands that work while others rest. They are the hands that keep the world turning when the sun is gone. You let your head sink back into the straw. The whir of the spindle is the last thing you hear. It is a very gentle sound, like a moth's wings against a screen. It follows you back down into the second sleep. You feel safe, you feel warm, and you feel part of the busy, quiet history of the night. The frost is still at the door, but the thread is long, and the wood is carved. The morning will be ready for you when you wake. The whir of the spindle has stopped. The mother has put away her wool, and the father has laid down his carving knife. The house has returned to a very deep silence. You are tucked back into your straw mattress, and the weight of the woolen rugs feels even heavier now. This is the deepest part of the night. Outside, the world is locked in a frozen sleep, but inside your head, a new kind of night shift is starting. This is the night shift of the mind. In the medieval world, dreams are not just stories you tell yourself while you sleep. They're very important. A simple historical fact is that people in the Middle Ages believed that dreams were messages. They thought that when you closed your eyes, your soul could travel to other places, or that spirits could come to talk to you. Because the night was so dark and so long, the world of dreams felt just as real as the world of the day. If you had a dream about a bright light or a beautiful garden, you woke up feeling that God had blessed you. If you had a dream about a storm or a wolf, you might worry that a problem was coming to your village. You lie very still, feeling the warmth of your linen nightcap. Your eyes are closed, but you can still see the shapes of the day in your mind. You see the glowing coals of the hearth. You see the frost on the window. You see the heavy stone walls of the castle. As you drift deeper into the second sleep, these shapes start to change and grow. This is the work of your imagination. But back then, people treated it like a secret language. There is a specific microhistory detail that shows how much people cared about this. Many people, especially those who could read in the city or the monastery, used something called a dream book. One of the most famous ones was called the Somniae Danialis, or the Dream Book of Daniel. It was a list of hundreds of things you might see in a dream and what they meant. For example, if you dreamed of flying, it meant you would have good luck. If you dreamed of losing a tooth, it meant a friend was going away. People would wake up from their second sleep and talk about their dreams to find out what might happen in the future. You feel your mind becoming soft and heavy. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The cottage is so quiet that you can hear the tiny tink of ice falling from the thatch roof outside. It is a very lonely sound, but it makes you feel even safer in your bed. You are like a little boat floating on a dark, quiet sea. You are not scared of the dreams. You know that everyone in the village is dreaming too. The priest in the church, the lady in the castle, and the shepherd in the barn are all having their own secret night shift in their heads. You think about the honor of the night. In the medieval world, the dark is a time for the spirit. During the day, you have to work hard. You have to chop wood, carry water, and look after the animals. But at night, you are free. Your mind can go anywhere. You can dream of the warm summer sun, or of a big feast with honey cakes and sweet wine. These dreams are like a gift that helps you get through the long, cold winter. They remind you that there is more to life than just the frost and the mud. Sometimes people were a bit afraid of the night shift of the mind. They thought that if they were not careful, bad dreams could steal their warmth. This is why you whispered that prayer earlier, and why you have the linen coif on your head. You are guarding your thoughts, just like the father guards the fire. You want your dreams to be peaceful and kind. You want them to be like a soft light in the middle of the dark. You imagine the lady in the castle. She's sleeping behind her thick velvet curtains. Her dreams might be full of knights and grand songs. You imagine the monk in his cold stone room. His dreams might be full of bells and golden light. Even though your lives are very different during the day, your dreams bring you together. In the world of sleep, there are no kings and no peasants. Everyone is just a human heart beating in the dark. You feel the scratchy wool of the blanket against your chin. It is a real feeling, but it starts to mix with your dream. You dream that you are wearing a cloak made of golden thread. You dream that the fire in the hearth is so big that it warms the whole world. These are happy thoughts. They make your body feel light and loose. You are no longer aware of the lumps in the straw mattress. You are no longer aware of the cold air on your nose. You are just drifting. The night shift of the dreams is a very busy time. Your brain is tidying up all the things you saw during the day. It is remembering the smell of the mulled ale and the sound of the cow in the stable. It is putting those memories away like treasures in a wooden box. In the morning, you will wake up and the dreams will fade like the mist over the fields. But for now, they are your world. You think about the honor of the quiet house. Everyone is safe. The door is barred. The fire is covered. The animals are warm. Because the house is safe, your mind is allowed to wander. You can go on a journey without ever leaving your straw bed. This is the magic of the medieval night. It is a time when the impossible feels possible. The silence of the room is very deep. It is a thick velvet silence that holds you tight. You feel a sense of peace that is very old. For thousands of years, people have lain in the dark and wondered about their dreams. They have seen the same stars and felt the same winter wind. You are part of that long breathing history. You are not alone in the night. You are part of a giant web of dreams that stretches across the whole world. You let yourself go completely now. You stop trying to think about the dream book or the woolen rugs. You just let the images float by. You see a green forest. You see a blue sky. You feel the sun on your face. It is a very warm and beautiful dream. It is the dream of spring, kept safe in the middle of the winter. You are tucked in, you are warm, and your mind is at peace. The second sleep is doing its work, and the watch of the mind is gentle and kind. You sink down deeper and deeper into the soft, dark story of the night. You are drifting through a warm dream of green forests, but slowly, the cold air of the room pulls you back. You are still tucked into your straw bed, but your mind travels away from the quiet village. You imagine yourself in a big city during the winter night. In the medieval world, cities like London or York are very different from the open fields. The houses are tall and made of wood and plaster. They are built so close together that the top floors almost touch across the narrow streets. This creates dark, freezing tunnels where the wind whistles like a ghost. You imagine walking down one of these city lanes. The ground is made of cobblestones, which are round, hard stones pushed into the dirt. In the winter, the stones are covered in a thin sheet of black ice. It is very easy to slip. The air here does not smell like the fresh hay of the village. It smells of coal smoke, old wood, and the damp stone of the city walls. This is the night shift of the town. Even though most people are behind their locked shutters, the city never feels as empty as the countryside. A simple historical fact is that city life was governed by the night watch. These were groups of men whose job was to walk the streets while everyone else slept. They carried long poles called halberds and lanterns made of horn. They were not just there to stop thieves. Their most important job was to watch for fire. In a city where houses are made of wood and straw, one small spark could destroy 100 homes in an hour. As they walked, they would call out the time and tell people that all was well. You can almost hear the rhythmic clack of their boots on the stones and the deep voice of the watchman calling into the dark. This is a specific micro-history detail. The watchman often carried a clapper. This was a wooden tool that made a loud, sharp snapping sound. If they saw a fire or a problem, they would rattle the clapper to wake up the whole street. But during the quiet hours, they used it gently to let people know they were passing by. It was a comforting sound for those lying awake in their beds. It told them that someone was outside, brave enough to face the frost so that they could stay warm. You think about the people sleeping in these tall houses. They do not have the warmth of a cow in the next room like the villagers do. Instead, they rely on thick stone fireplaces. But in the city, wood is very expensive because it has to be brought in from the forests far away. Many people burn sea coal. This is a hard, black stone that comes from the ground. It burns very hot and lasts a long time, but it makes a thick yellow smoke that smells like sulfur. You can see the smoke curling out of the chimneys, hanging over the city like a heavy grey blanket. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. You imagine standing in the middle of a city square, the big cathedral towers above you, its bells silent for now. The only sound is the wind catching a loose sign on a shop, making it creak on its iron hinges. Squeak, thud. Squeak, thud. Squeak, thud. It is a lonely, cold sound. You feel very small among the tall buildings. You realize that even in a city full of thousands of people, the night shift is a solitary time. Everyone is an island of warmth behind their own heavy oak door. You think about the honor of the city walls. These massive stone boundaries are kept locked tight from sunset until sunrise. No one can come in, and no one can go out without a very good reason. This makes the city feel like a giant fortress. The people inside are safe from the wolves and the bandits of the wild woods, but they are not safe from the cold. The frost does not care about walls. It climbs over the battlements and slides down the chimneys. It finds its way into the cellars and the garrets. In the city, people have to be very clever to stay warm. A rich merchant might have a room lined with wooden panels to keep the chill of the stone away. He might have rugs imported from the east to cover his floors, but a poor apprentice sleeping in the shop below has only a thin blanket and the hope that the coal fire stays lit. You feel a sense of respect for the city dwellers. They live in a crowded, busy world, but at night, they face the same quiet battle as the farmer. You imagine the night watchman stopping at a corner to blow on his fingers. His breath is like a white cloud. He looks up at the stars, which are hard to see through the yellow coal smoke. He thinks about his own bed, which is waiting for him when his shift ends at dawn. He is the guardian of the city's peace. Without him, the people behind the shutters would not sleep so soundly. You feel the weight of your own woolen rugs again. You are glad you're in your quiet cottage and not on the icy cobblestones. The city is a place of excitement during the day, but at night it is a place of shadows and sharp drafts. You prefer the smell of the hay and the sound of the cow's breath. But you feel a connection to those city people. You are all part of the same history. You are all waiting for the sun to melt the frost. The darkness of the city is different from the darkness of the fields. It feels tighter, as if the buildings are leaning in to listen to your footsteps. You think about the portieres, those heavy door curtains that city people use to block the wind. You think about the iron locks and the wooden bars. Everything is designed to keep the world out. But the night is a guest that cannot be refused. You let your mind travel back from the city lanes to your own straw mattress. The transition is smooth and quiet. You feel the springy hay beneath you and the warmth of your brother beside you. The city watchman is still out there, clacking his wooden clapper, but he is far away now. You are back in your own small world. The night shift of the town continues, but you are ready to return to your second sleep. You think about the honor of the house, whether it is a tall timber frame in London or a mud cottage in the woods. It is a sanctuary. It is a place where you can be still. You feel a deep sense of peace. You are tucked in, you are warm, and you are protected by walls and by the watchman of the world. You let your eyes close, and the image of the city smoke fades away. You sink back down, feeling the heavy wool and the sweet straw. The second sleep is here, and it is as deep as the shadows of a city lane. The city watchman's clapper is now a faint memory, a sound that stays in the distance as you settle deeper into your bed. You are back in the cottage, and the air is very still. You feel the heavy woolen rugs over you, and the straw mattress is tucked beneath you. But as you lie very still, you might feel a tiny tickle on your arm, or a small pinch on your leg. In the medieval world, you never truly sleep alone. Even if you are not sharing your bed with your family, you are sharing it with tiny, hidden guests. This is the night shift of the household pests. A simple historical fact is that in the Middle Ages, almost everyone had to live with bugs in their beds. It did not matter if you were a poor farmer or a rich king in a castle. Because people lived so close to animals and used natural things like straw and wool, insects like fleas, lice, and bedbugs were a part of daily life. They lived in the cracks of the wooden bed frames and in the deep layers of the straw mattress. They were so common that people did not think they were dirty. They just thought they were a nuisance, like the rain or the cold wind. You feel a little itch on your shoulder. You reach up and scratch it through the linen of your shift. You don't get angry, because you are used to it. This is a specific micro-history detail. To try and keep the bugs away, people use strewing herbs. These were dried plants with very strong smells that bugs do not like. The mother of the house has mixed dried mint, tansy, and wormwood into the straw of your mattress. As you move, the straw breaks these plants and releases a sharp, bitter scent. It is not the sweetest lavender, but it helps to keep the tiny guests from biting too much. You lie still and listen. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The house is so quiet that you think you can hear the straw shifting all by itself. Of course, it is just the mattress settling under your weight, but in the dark, your mind imagines the tiny lives moving inside the stalks. You think about the night shift of these insects. They wait for the fire to go low and the bodies to go still. They are just like the wolves outside, looking for a way to survive the winter. It reminds you that nature is everywhere, even inside your blankets. You think about the castle again. Even the Lord in his fancy canopy bed has these same problems. He might have silk sheets, but the bedbugs can still hide in the carved wood of his expensive bedposts. He might have a servant who uses a flea trap. This was a small, hollow tube made of bone or wood with tiny holes in the side. Inside, the servant would put a piece of cloth soaked in honey or blood. The fleas would jump inside the tube to get the treat, and then the servant would throw the tube into the fire in the morning. It was a clever way to try and have a peaceful night, but it never caught them all. You realize that these bugs are a reminder of how connected you are to the world. The straw came from the field, and the bugs came with the straw. The wool came from the sheep, and the lice came with the wool. You are part of a big, living circle. It is a bit uncomfortable, but it is also very human. You are all enduring the winter together. The humans, the cows, and even the tiny beetles in the floor. To help you sleep, you try to ignore the itches. You focus on the warmth of your woolen hose and the weight of the rugs. You think about the honor of a clean house. In the spring, when the sun comes back, the night shift of the household will include a big cleaning. Every bed will be taken outside. Every mattress will be emptied, and the old straw will be burned in a giant bonfire. The wooden frames will be washed with strong vinegar and salt. But for now, in the middle of the winter, you just have to be patient. You think about the people who live in the city. Their houses are so close together that the bugs move easily from one home to the next. They have it much worse than you do in the quiet village. At least you have the fresh smell of the mint and the wormwood to help you. You take a deep breath, and the bitter scent of the herbs clears your head. It makes the air feel a little bit cleaner. The itch on your shoulder goes away as you find a new, comfortable spot. You are becoming heavy with sleep once more. The second sleep is a powerful thing. It makes you forget the small irritations of the day and the night. You feel like the straw is a soft golden nest that is protecting you. You don't mind the tiny guests as much anymore. They are just part of the history of the house. You imagine the monks in the monastery. They sleep in their woolen habits, which are very thick. They believe that enduring the itches of the lice is a way to show they are strong in their faith. They do not complain. They just focus on their prayers. You feel a sense of respect for them. It takes a lot of discipline to be still when you want to scratch. You try to be like them for a moment, keeping your hands under the covers and staying very quiet. The darkness is like a heavy velvet curtain. It hides the straw and the bugs and the mud walls. It only lets you feel the warmth. You are a little island of heat, and that is what matters. The night shift of the body is to rest, and the night shift of the bugs cannot stop that. You feel your heart beat slowly. You feel your mind start to wander back into dreams. You think about the morning. You'll wake up and shake out your shift. You will stand near the hearth and let the smoke of the new fire drift over you. The smoke helps to chase the bugs away too. But for now, you are in the dark. You are tucked in. You are part of the long breathing story of the medieval night. The frost is at the window, the fire is a red ember, and the tiny guests are settled in the straw. You let yourself sink down. The rustle of the mattress is the last thing you hear. It is a soft, dry sound that tells you the bed is ready. You are no longer thinking about itches or herbs. You are only thinking about the deep, dark rest. You are safe in your nest, and the second sleep is finally taking hold. You are asleep in the heart of the winter. The tiny itches in the straw have faded as you move into the quietest part of the night. But even now, when most of the world is deep in dreams, there is one sound that never truly stops in the castle or the big manor houses. It is a heavy, rhythmic sound. Thud. Scrape. Thud. It is the sound of the night shift workers moving the wood. In the medieval world, heat is a hungry beast that must be fed. To keep the great hall from freezing and to make sure the Lord's chamber stays warm, a massive amount of fuel is needed. You imagine a young servant. His name might be Peter or John. He is strong, but he is very tired. While you are resting, he is down in the courtyard. The air there is like a wall of ice. He is loading a wooden sledge with heavy logs of oak and ash. These logs were cut in the autumn and stacked high to dry. Now they are the only thing standing between the castle and the frost. He pulls the sledge across the frozen ground. The iron runners make a sharp screaming sound against the ice. A simple historical fact is that a big castle could burn through hundreds of logs in a single winter night. There were no pipes for gas and no wires for heat. Every bit of warmth you feel has to be carried by a human being. This is why wood is often called the wealth of the poor. If you have wood, you have life. If you do not, the winter is a very short story. The servant enters the castle through a side door. He begins the long walk up the winding stone stairs. These are called spiral stairs. They were built this way to make it hard for an enemy to climb up, but they also make it very hard to carry wood. He has a heavy basket made of woven willow branches on his back. It is called a back basket, or a pannier. It is filled with smaller logs and kindling. Kindling is just small sticks and dried twigs that catch fire very quickly. He moves slowly, his breath coming in loud white puffs that look like smoke. He reaches the great hall. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The hall is massive and empty. The only light comes from the dying fire in the center. The servant moves quietly. He does not want to wake the guards who are sleeping on benches near the walls. He kneels by the hearth. He uses long iron tongs to move the glowing coals. Then he places two massive logs at the back. These are the back logs. They are the largest pieces of wood, and their job is to burn very slowly for many hours. In front of them, he adds smaller pieces that will catch fire and give off bright light. There is a specific microhistory detail here. To help the fire burn better, the logs sit on andirons. These are heavy iron stands that look like little dogs or monsters. They hold the wood up off the stone floor so that air can flow underneath. This makes the fire hotter and helps it grow. You can hear the soft hiss as the cold wood touches the hot coals. A tiny plume of blue smoke rises up toward the high rafters. The servant watches for a moment to make sure the logs are steady. Then he picks up his empty basket and heads back down the stairs for more. You think about the honor of this hard work. Peter or John will do this trip 10 times before the sun comes up. His back will ache and his hands will be covered in rough bark and sap. But because of him, the Lord will wake up in a warm room. The guards will not freeze. The bread in the kitchen will be ready to bake. He is a silent hero of the night shift. He is the one who keeps the pulse of the castle beating. In your cottage, the work is simpler, but just as important. The father of the house does not have a sledge or a basket, but he has a pile of logs tucked under the eaves of the roof. Every time he wakes during the middle hour, he checks the pile. He knows exactly how many logs are left. He treats each piece of wood like a gold coin. He will not waste a single twig. He knows that the forest is deep and full of snow, and getting more wood now would be almost impossible. You think about the trees that gave this wood. They stood in the forest for 50 or 100 years. They soaked up the sun of many summers. Now, in the dark of winter, they are giving that sun back to you. It is a beautiful cycle. The tree grows, the wood dries, and the fire warms. You feel a deep sense of respect for the wood. It is the solid, honest fuel of history. The castle servant is now at the door of the Lord's private room. He moves the heavy woolen curtain aside. He is very careful to be silent. He adds 2 small clean burning logs to the fireplace. He does not use oak here because it can pop and send out sparks. Instead, he uses birch or fruit wood. This wood smells sweet, like an orchard, and it burns with a steady, quiet flame. This is another small detail of the night shift. The choice of wood changes depending on who is sleeping nearby. You feel the weight of your blankets and the warmth of the air. You realize that you are part of a huge system of heat. From the servant on the stairs to the father by the hearth, everyone is working to keep the frost at bay. The night is a cold ocean, and the fires are like little islands where people can rest. You feel very grateful for the logs and the people who carry them. The thudding sound of the wood sledge outside has stopped. Perhaps Peter has finally finished his work. Perhaps he is now sitting near the kitchen fire, warming his red hands before he finds his own bed. You hope he is. He has earned his rest. The castle is now well supplied for the rest of the night. The massive backlogs in the great hall are starting to glow, sending a steady, deep heat into the stone. The house returns to its deepest silence. The only sound is the tiny crack of a log settling into the ashes. You let your mind drift away from the castle stairs and the heavy baskets. You are back in your own nest. The smell of the wood smoke is comforting. It tells you that the night shift is doing its job. The fire is fed, the house is safe, and the morning is coming. You let your eyes close. You imagine the forest in the snow, silent and white. The trees are waiting for the spring just like you are. But for now, their wood is here with you, keeping the frost away. You sink down into the straw, feeling the heavy wool and the quiet peace. The second sleep is deep and kind, and the warmth of the logs follows you into your dreams. The heavy logs are settled in the hearth, and the house is full of the smell of slow-burning oak. You are warm in your bed, but as the hours of the night pass, your stomach gives a tiny, quiet rumble. In the medieval world, the night shift at staying warm requires a lot of energy. Your body is like a small fire that needs its own fuel to keep burning against the frost. This is why the food of winter is so different from the food of summer. It is heavy, it is warm, and it is built to last. You look toward the rafters of the cottage. Hanging from the dark wooden beams are the treasures of the autumn harvest. You see long strings of dried onions, bundles of grey-green herbs, and large pieces of salted pork. These are the supplies that must last until the first green grass of spring. A simple historical fact is that without a way to keep food from rotting, people would have nothing to eat in the winter. They use salt, smoke, and drying to lock the food in time. This meant that almost everything you ate on a winter night had a very strong, salty, or smoky taste. You imagine the family waking up for their small meal during the middle hour. The mother reaches for a large round loaf of bread sitting on a wooden shelf. This is not soft white bread, it is maslin bread. This is a micro-history detail. Maslin is a mix of rye and wheat flour. The bread is dark brown, heavy as a stone, and has a very thick crust. Because it was baked days or even weeks ago, it is very hard. You cannot just bite into it. You would hurt your teeth. To make the bread soft enough to eat, it is dipped into the pottage pot. You remember seeing that big iron pot earlier, sitting on its three-legged stand over the coals. The pottage has been simmering for hours, maybe even days. It is a thick stew made of dried peas, beans, and oats. In the winter, it is thick enough for a spoon to stand up in. The heat of the soup soaks into the hard bread, making it warm and easy to chew. As you eat it, you feel the warmth spread from your mouth all the way down to your belly. It feels like you are putting a hot stone inside your body to help you fight the shivers. You lie still and listen to the quiet. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. You can hear the soft glug of the pottage as a bubble of air escapes from the thick stew. It is a very slow, heavy sound. Outside, the world is empty of food. The berries are gone, the grain is locked in barns, and the earth is frozen too hard for a spade. But inside, the smell of boiling beans and salty meat is the smell of safety. It tells you that the family was clever in the summer and lucky in the autumn. You feel a deep sense of honor to have a full pot. You think about the drink that goes with the bread. It is often a small cup of cider or watered-down ale. In the winter, the cider is made from apples that were crushed in a big stone press months ago. It is a bit sour, but it is full of the sugar the body needs to stay warm. Sometimes, if the night is very cold, the mother might stir a spoonful of honey into the cup. Honey is a great treasure. It is the only sweet thing most people ever taste. It tastes of sunshine and flowers, even when the wind is throwing snow against the door. In the castle, the food on the night shift is much fancier, but it does the same job. The lord might have a meat pie filled with venison or pork, seasoned with pepper and ginger. The spices help to heat the blood, just like the mulled ale. He might have a dish called frumenti, which is cracked wheat, boiled in milk with egg yolks and saffron. It is bright yellow and very rich. Whether it is the king's saffron wheat or the farmer's bean pottage, every bite is a weapon used against the frost. You think about the animals in the stable. They are eating their own winter food-dried hay and a bit of grain. Their fuel keeps their large bodies warm, which in turn keeps your house warm. Everything is connected by food and heat. You feel a sense of respect for the land that provided all of this. It took months of sweat under a hot sun to grow the beans that are now bubbling in the pot. You realize that the night shift of survival started way back in the spring when the first seeds were planted. The room is very dim, but the smell of the pottage is like a warm light. You feel your stomach settle and your body become heavy. When your belly is full of warm, thick food, the cold air on your nose doesn't seem so bad. Your heart doesn't have to work quite so hard to keep you toasted. You feel like you are sinking back into the straw mattress, but now you are even more comfortable. You imagine the morning. The first thing the family will do is eat more of that pottage. It will be the fire that gets them through the chores in the frozen yard. The hard bread will be broken again and the mugs will be filled. But for now, the pot is just simmering quietly. It is a guardian of the hearth, keeping the house smelling of life. You feel a deep sense of peace. You are tucked in, you are warm, and you are not hungry. In the medieval world, that is a very big victory. Many people in the city or in the wars far away might be cold and empty tonight. But here in the village, the pot is full and the fire is covered. You are safe. You let your eyes close. Your thoughts are as slow and thick as the pottage. You think about the hard crust of the bread and the sweetness of the honey. These are the tastes of history. They are the tastes of the people who knew that the night was long, but the harvest was good. You let the smell of the hearth carry you back down into the second sleep. The watch continues, but your body is fueled and ready for the dawn. You sink into the dark, feeling the quiet strength of the winter food. The smell of the thick bean pottage and the warm oak logs lingers in the room. You are tucked back into your straw bed, but as you lie there in the deep dark, you realize that the walls of the cottage and the heavy woolen rugs are not the only things people use to feel safe. In the medieval world, the night is a time when the invisible world feels very close. People believe that the dark is not just empty. They think it is full of spirits, ghosts, and strange creatures that come out when the sun goes down. To fight these fears, the night shift includes a very special kind of protection. This is the world of charms and prayers. You look up at the wooden beam above your head. In the dim red light of the covered fire, you see a small object hanging from a piece of string. It is a tiny cross, made of 2 sticks of rowan wood, tied together with a bit of red thread. This is a simple charm. A simple historical fact is that people in the Middle Ages mixed their church beliefs with very old folk stories. They believed that certain trees, like the rowan or the hawthorn, had a special power to keep bad things away. By hanging this cross over the bed, the family feels that they have a secret guard watching over them while they sleep, the second sleep. You reach out and touch the wall next to your pillow. You feel a small, rough shape scratched into the wood. It is a circle with many lines crossing through it, looking a bit like a star. This is a witch mark, or what historians call an apotropaic mark. This is a specific microhistory detail. These marks were carved into doors, windows, and bedposts. People believed that a bad spirit or a night hag, which was a creature they thought caused bad dreams, would get lost in the lines of the drawing and could not reach the person sleeping. You run your finger over the lines. It feels like a secret map carved into the house itself. It gives you a sense of peace to know that the house has its own shield. You lie still and listen to the quiet. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The house is so still that every little creak of the wood sounds like a whisper. You can hear the wind outside, and for a second it sounds like a voice calling across the fields. But then you remember the rowan cross and the star mark. You realize that you are inside a protected circle. The family has done everything they can to make the night kind. You feel a deep sense of honor to be part of this tradition. It is a way of saying that even in the big dark winter, humans have a way to stay brave. You think about the mother of the house. Before she went to bed, she did more than just cover the fire. She walked to each corner of the room and whispered a small prayer. She touched the doorframe and made the sign of the cross. This was her way of locking the house against the spirits of the frost. For her, a prayer is like a warm blanket for the soul. It makes the air feel softer and the shadows feel less scary. You can still feel the echo of her quiet voice in the room. In the castle, the protection is even fancier. The lord might have a small piece of jewelry called an Agnus Dei. This is a little round cake of wax that has been blessed by the Pope himself. It is kept in a beautiful silver box and hung around the neck, or kept under the pillow. The rich believe that these holy objects are like powerful shields that can stop sickness or bad luck from coming through the velvet curtains. Whether it is a silver box or a wooden stick, the feeling is the same. It is the hope that something bigger than the cold is looking after you. You think about the night watchman in the city. As he walks his rounds, he often sings a little song or a psalm. He is not just telling people the time. He is using his voice to drive away the silence. He believes that the sound of a holy song is like a light that the darkness cannot put out. You feel a sense of respect for his courage. He is out there in the freezing lanes, talking to the night. so that the people inside can dream of spring. You look at the red eye of the hearth. You imagine the fire itself is a kind of charm. As long as the coals are glowing, the house is alive. The smoke that curls up toward the roof is like a message sent to the sky. It says, "We are here, we are warm, and we are safe." You feel very snug under your woolen rugs. The tiny itches in the straw and the cold air on your nose do not bother you now. You are wrapped in layers of wool, and you are wrapped in layers of faith. Sometimes people would put a small bowl of salt on the table or near the window. They believed that salt was pure and that no bad thing could cross it. You see the wooden bowl on the family table, sitting in the dark. It is a simple thing, but it has a big job to do. Everything in the cottage, from the salt to the rowan wood, is part of the night shift of the spirit. It is how the medieval world stays strong when the sun is gone for so many hours. You feel your mind becoming very quiet. The second sleep is pulling you down again, like a heavy soft weight. You are no longer thinking about the night hag or the wind. You are thinking about the rowan cross. You imagine it glowing with a tiny secret light. It makes the room feel very cozy. You feel like the house is a small boat, and the charms are the anchors that keep it from drifting away into the dark. You think about the morning. When the sun comes up, the family will say another prayer of thanks. They will open the door and look out at the snow, knowing they made it through another night. The charms will stay where they are, waiting for the next sunset. They are the permanent guards of the cottage. You feel a deep sense of peace. You are tucked in, you are warm, and you are protected. In the medieval world, this is all anyone could ask for. You're part of a very old and very beautiful story. It is a story of people who were not afraid of the dark because they knew how to fill it with light. You let your eyes close, and the shape of the witch mark on the wall fades away into your dreams. The watch continues, but you are not worried. You have your cross, your prayer, and your heavy rugs. You sink down into the straw, feeling the quiet honor of the house. The second sleep is deep and kind, and the invisible guards are all around you. You are asleep in the heart of the winter night, safe in the arms of the night shift. The red eye of the fire still pulses beneath the iron curfew. But as you lie in the quiet, you hear the mother of the house stir once more. This time, she is not reaching for her spindle. She is leaning over the hearth, moving a small ceramic pot closer to the warmth of the embers. A sharp, clean scent begins to rise into the room. It is the smell of peppermint, dried rosemary, and something bitter like tree bark. In the medieval night, when the cold makes the chest feel tight or the joints ache, the night shift turns to the world of healing drinks. A simple historical fact is that there were no pharmacies or hospitals in the village. If you felt ill in the middle of a winter night, your medicine cabinet was the garden and the hedgerow. During the long summer days, the family gathered herbs and flowers, drying them in bundles to save for this exact moment. They believed that plants held the power of the sun, and by drinking them in hot water, you could bring that summer light back into a cold body. The mother is making a peasant. This is a micro-history detail. A tisane is a healing tea made from barley water and herbs. She pours hot water from the iron pot into a small clay cup filled with dried hyssop and a spoonful of dark honey. Hyssop is a bushy plant with purple flowers that people used to help with a winter cough. The honey makes it sweet and thick, and the heat of the water helps the herbs release their magic. She brings the cup over to the bed, and the steam rises in a thin, white curl. You watch as she gives a sip to your younger brother, who has been coughing in his sleep. The smell of the tea is very strong. It clears your own nose just by being near it. It is a very natural, earthy smell. It reminds you of the forest floor after a rain. In the medieval world, medicine was not just about fixing the body. It was about comfort. Holding a warm cup and smelling the summer herbs made you feel that you were being looked after. It was an act of love performed in the dark. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The only sound is the soft slurp as the boy drinks and the steady crackle of the embers. The room feels like a tiny laboratory of health. You realize that the mother knows exactly which leaf helps the head and which root helps the stomach. This knowledge has been passed down from her mother and her grandmother. It is a secret history held in the hands of the women of the village. You feel a deep sense of honor to be part of a family that knows how to heal itself. In the castle, the Lord's physician might brew something much more complex. He might use expensive spices like ginger or even unicorn horn, which was actually the tusk of a narwhal. He might mix these with heavy wine to make a caudle. A caudle is a thick, warm drink made of wine, eggs, sugar, and spices. It was thought to be the best way to regain strength after a long journey in the frost. Whether it is a simple herb tea or a rich wine cream, the goal is to stir the humours. People believed that health was a balance of fluids in the body, and the cold winter air could make those fluids go thick and slow. Warm drinks made them flow again. You think about the monks in their monastery infirmary. The infirmary is the room for the sick. There, the infirmara, the monk in charge of health, keeps a large garden full of healing plants. Even in the middle of winter, he has jars of dried chamomile and poppy seeds. He uses these to make sleep drinks for monks who are in pain. He believes that a quiet mind is the first step to a healthy body. The scent of his herbary must be so thick it feels like walking through a meadow in July. You look at the small clay cup as the mother sets it back down near the hearth. The tea is still steaming. You imagine the tiny particles of the herbs moving through the boy's body, chasing away the shivers and softening his cough. It is a slow kind of magic. It doesn't happen instantly, but by the time the second sleep is over, he will feel much better. The night shift of healing is a quiet, patient work. You think about the honor of the plants. The peppermint grew near the stream. The rosemary grew near the stone wall. The honey came from the bees in the hollow tree. All these things worked hard during the summer to be ready for the winter. They are the silent allies of the cottage. You feel a sense of respect for the earth. Even when it looks dead and frozen, it has provided everything you need to stay well. The house is very still again. The boy's breathing has become deeper and steadier. The tea has done its work. The mother climbs back into the bed, and the straw mattress rustles one last time. You feel the warmth of her body as she settles in. The smoky, herbal smell of the room is very comforting. It makes you feel that the house is not just a shelter, but a place that cares for you. You feel your own eyes getting heavy. Your mind is full of the images of green leaves and purple flowers. You are no longer thinking about the frost on the window. You are thinking about the fire of life inside your own chest. The warm drink, the heavy rugs, and the quiet prayers are all working together. You are a little world of health in the middle of a frozen land. You think about the morning. The first thing the family will do is check the pot. They might drink the rest of the herbal water to start the day. It will give them a shield against the wind. But for now, there is only the rest. The second sleep is pulling at you and you are ready to let go. You feel safe, you feel warm, and you feel part of the long, wise history of the night. You let your head sink into the hay-filled pillow. The scent of the rosemary is the last thing you notice. It is a clean, sharp smell that stays with you as you drift back into dreams. The watch continues, but the medicine is working. You are tucked in, you are toasted, and you are at peace. You sink down into the dark, feeling the quiet strength of the healing night. The herbal scent of rosemary and hyssop still hangs in the air, a ghost of the summer garden. You are warm in your bed, but your mind travels one last time away from the cottage. You imagine yourself in the heart of a great city just before the sun begins to rise. In the medieval world, the winter night is long, but it is not empty. When the first grey light touches the tops of the stone walls, the winter market begins to stir. This is the great night shift of the merchants and the traders. Before you have even finished your second sleep, the business of keeping the world supplied with warmth is in full swing. You imagine the city square. The ground is hard as iron, and the cobblestones are slick with frost. Torches are stuck into iron rings on the walls, their flames whipping in the cold wind. Men are unloading heavy wooden carts. These carts have travelled for days through the snow to bring the things the city needs to stay alive. In the winter, the market is not about fresh fruit or bright flowers. It is about the hard goods. You see stacks of thick grey woolen cloth from the north. You see barrels of salted fish and heavy sacks of grain. You see mountains of firewood being sold by the faggot, which is just a bundle of sticks tied together. A simple historical fact is that in the Middle Ages, the price of things changed with the weather. If the winter was very cold and the roads were blocked by snow, the price of a candle or a bundle of wood would go up very high. This is why the morning market is so busy. People want to get there early to buy what they need before the price rises or the supplies run out. The market is a noisy, smoky, freezing place. You hear the clatter of iron wheels and the shout of the sellers. Wax for your light, wool for your back, good coal for your hearth. This is a specific micro-history detail. One of the most important people in the winter market is the chandler. A chandler is a person who makes and sells candles. In the winter, everyone needs light. You see the chandler's stall, filled with rows of candles hanging from wooden racks. The best ones are made of beeswax. They smell like honey and burn with a steady, golden flame. But most people can only afford tallow candles, which are made from animal fat. They are cheaper, but they smoke more and smell like a kitchen. You watch a servant from a big house buy a whole crate of tallow dips. Without these little sticks of fat, the house would be a tomb of darkness. You think about the honor of the traders. These men and women have spent the whole night on the road. They have slept in wagons and eaten cold bread to make sure the city has its fuel and its food. They're part of the big machine that keeps the winter at bay. You feel a sense of respect for their strength. Their hands are cracked from the frost, and their voices are hoarse from the wind, but they are the ones who bring the summer's harvest into the winter's mouth. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. You imagine a brief pause in the noise. The wind drops for a second, and you hear the deep thud of a heavy sack of grain hitting the ground. You see a merchant blowing into his cupped hands, his face lit by the orange glow of a nearby brazier. A brazier is a metal basket on legs filled with hot coals, used to keep the market workers from freezing where they stand. It is a lonely, cold work, but it is the pulse of the city. Without this morning shift, the life of the town would stop. You think about the people in your village. They do not have a big market like this, but they have the peddler. A peddler is a man who carries a big wooden box on his back filled with small treasures. He comes to the village once a month, even in the snow. He brings pins, needles, small pots of salt, and maybe a bit of expensive spice like pepper. He brings the news of the big city to the quiet cottages. He is a walking market, a single person on a long night shift through the woods. You look at the woolen hose on your legs. You realize they might have come from a market just like this one. They were once a big roll of cloth on a merchant's stall. They were bought with silver coins or traded for a basket of eggs. Everything you have, your cap, your rugs, your bedstone, is part of a giant web of trade. People worked, travelled and haggled so that you could be warm tonight. It makes you feel very connected to the world. The city market is getting busier now. More carts are arriving. The smell of the torches and the coal smoke is very strong. You see a baker opening his shutters, the warmth of his big oven spilling out into the street. The smell of fresh, hot bread is the best smell in the world on a freezing morning. It makes the cold seem worth it. People gather near the bakery just to feel the heat for a moment before they go back to their work. You feel the peace of your own bed again. You are glad you are not a merchant on a frozen road or a servant carrying heavy sacks. But you are glad they are there. They are the guards of the world's stomach and the world's hearth. You feel a deep sense of honor to be part of a society that looks after itself so well. Even in the deepest winter, the humans are busy, moving, and helping. The darkness of the cottage is fading. The second sleep is almost over. You think about the hard goods in the market, the wood, the wool, the wax. These are the bricks that build the house of survival. You feel very snug under your rugs. You know that when you wake up, the market will be in full swing and the world will be ready to trade again. You let your mind go. You stop thinking about the city square and the heavy carts. You just feel the stillness of the room. The fire is a secret under its cover, and the family is a warm circle beside you. The night shift of the market is far away, but its energy gives you a sense of safety. You know the world is working for you. You let your head sink back into the straw. The image of the golden beeswax candles is the last thing you see. It is a warm, bright image to have as you drift through the final minutes of your rest. You are tucked in, you are toasted, and you are part of the long, busy history of the winter. The watch is almost over, but for now, there is only the deep, dark peace of the end of the night. The long night is finally beginning to break. The deep, heavy dark of the second sleep is lifting, replaced by a thin, watery grey light that spills through the gaps in the shutters. You stir under your mountain of woolen rugs. Your body feels heavy and warm, but the air touching your nose is sharper than it has ever been. This is the coldest hour, the time just before the sun actually climbs over the horizon. In the medieval world, the morning shift starts with a shock. It starts with the sound of cracking and the feeling of frost. You reach out a hand from beneath the covers. The air in the room is so cold that it feels like a physical weight against your skin. Your fingers find the wooden bucket that sits on the floor near the bed. Last night it was full of clear water. Now it is covered in a thick white sheet of ice. This is a simple historical fact of winter life. Without central heating, the temperature inside a cottage often drops below freezing while the family sleeps. To get a drink or to wash your face, you must first break the morning ice. You pick up a small wooden mallet or the back of a heavy spoon and tap the surface of the water. Crack, crack. The ice breaks into jagged pieces that bob in the dark water like tiny ships. This is a specific microhistory detail. People often used a base and stick a simple piece of wood kept near the wash bowl to break this ice every single morning. You scoop up a handful of the freezing water and splash it onto your face. The shock is so great that your breath leaves you for a second. Your skin stings and then turns a bright, glowing red. It is a harsh way to wake up, but it makes you feel instantly alive. It shakes away the last of the dreams and prepares you for the work ahead. You stand up, your feet finding the cold floor. The rushes on the ground are stiff with the chill. You move quickly to the hearth. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. The house is still quiet, but the rhythm of the day is starting. You can hear the tinkle of the ice shards in the bucket as they melt. You can hear the soft huff of your own breath. You lift the iron curfew, the metal cover that has guarded the fire all night. Beneath it, the coals are still there. They are tiny, glowing red hearts buried in a bed of white ash. You kneel on the cold stone and perform the most important job of the morning. You add a handful of dry straw and a few small twigs of kindling to the embers. You lean in close and blow gently. Whoosh, whoosh. At first, there is only a tiny puff of smoke, but then a single spark catches a piece of straw. A tiny yellow flame licks the wood. You feel the first bit of heat touch your hands. It feels like a miracle every single time. Within minutes, the fire is roaring again, and the shadows of the room begin to retreat. The night shift of guarding the fire has been a success. The hearth is awake. You think about the honor of the morning chores. While the fire grows, you must check on the others. You look at the family in the bed. They are still tucked in, their white linen caps showing above the blankets. You feel a sense of pride that you were the one to wake first and bring the heat back to the house. In the castle, the groom of the chamber is doing this same work, moving silently through the lord's rooms, breaking the ice in silver basins and stirring the great stone fireplaces. Whether the bowl is wood or silver, the ice is just as cold. You look at the window. The frost on the shutters is so thick that it looks like white fur. You unbar the wooden latch and push them open. A blast of winter air hits you, smelling of snow and pine trees. The world outside is a masterpiece of white and blue. Every branch of every tree is covered in a delicate layer of hoarfrost. This is a type of frost that forms when the air is very damp and very cold, creating long needle-like crystals that glitter in the dawn light. It is beautiful, but it is a warning. It tells you that the ground is frozen hard and the work today will be difficult. You think about the animals in the stable. They are waking up too. You hear the cow make a low, impatient sound. She needs her morning hay and a drink of water. You will have to go out and break the ice in the big stone trough in the yard so the sheep and the horses can drink. It is a heavy job, hitting the thick ice with a spade until the water flows, but it is part of the partnership between you and the beasts. They kept you warm last night, now you must keep them watered this morning. You reach for your boots. They are made of thick leather and are stiff from the cold. You have to pull hard to get them on. You wrap a heavy woolen cloak over your shift and hose. The cloak has been hanging near the hearth, so it feels warm and heavy, like a hug. You feel ready. The night shift has handed the world over to the day shift. The long hours of darkness and dreaming are over. The smell of the room is changing. The sharp, clean scent of the ice water is being replaced by the smoky, sweet smell of the new fire. The mother of the house is stirring now, reaching for the pottage pot to warm the morning meal. The house is beginning to hum with life. You feel a deep sense of peace. You survive the night. The fire is bright, the family is safe, and the first light of the sun is finally touching the thatch of the roof. You take one last look at the broken ice in the basin. It is melting now, the jagged edges turning smooth. It is a symbol of the winter. It is hard and sharp, but it cannot last forever against the heat of the hearth and the return of the sun. You feel strong and steady. You have been a guardian of the night, and now you are a worker of the day. You step toward the door, ready to face the frost. Your mind is clear, and your heart is warm. You are part of the long, brave history of people who woke up in the dark to make sure the light returned. The ice is broken, the fire is lit, and the morning has arrived. You let the story of the night go, holding on to the warmth, As you step out into the glittering, frozen world, the ice in the morning basin has melted, and the sun is now high enough to turn the frost into 1,000 tiny diamonds on the grass. You stand by the cottage door, looking out at the fields. The air is still cold, but it has lost that heavy, biting weight of midwinter. You can feel the change in your skin. The wind does not try to cut through your woolen cloak anymore. It just brushes past you like a cool hand. This is the time of the great wait. In the medieval world, this is when the night shift of winter begins to turn into the day shift of spring. You look at the ground near the stone wall. There, poking through a patch of melting snow, is a tiny green shoot. It is a very small thing, but in the Middle Ages, it is the most beautiful sight in the world. This is the start of what people called the Lenten spring. A simple historical fact is that this was often the hardest time for the village. The big sacks of grain in the barn are nearly empty. The salted meat is mostly gone. People had to be very careful with their food, eating only a little bit each day to make sure they lasted until the first vegetables grew. But even though their bellies were a bit empty, their hearts were full of hope. The long dark was over. You reach out and touch a branch of a nearby willow tree. It feels flexible and alive, not stiff and brittle like it did a month ago. You see the small, fuzzy grey buds on the stems. In the village, people call these pussy willows. This is a specific microhistory detail. Because it was too cold for real flowers to grow, people would gather these soft willow branches and bring them into their houses. They would place them near the hearth or hang them over the door. They were a sign that the life of the earth was waking up. The soft, furry buds felt like the coats of young animals, a promise that soon the lambs and calves would be born. You walk a little further into the field. This is a moment of atmospheric silence. You stop and just listen. The world is no longer silent and frozen. You hear the drip, drip, drip of water falling from the trees. You hear the rush of the stream, which is now full of melted snow and moving fast over the rocks. Far off in the woods, you hear the first bird song that sounds like it really means it. It is a busy, happy sound. You realize that the night shift of the winter, the long months of guarding the fire and huddling in the straw, has done its work. You have carried the spark of life through the dark, and now the sun is going to take over. You think about the honor of endurance. You think about the monks who sang in the ice, the servants who carried the heavy oak logs, and the mothers who spun the wool by the dying light. You think about the father who watched the fire and the children who slept tight in the straw. Everyone played their part. Together, you were like a big family guarding a single candle against a great wind, and now the wind has moved on. The candle can be put away because the daylight is returning. In the castle, the heavy velvet curtains are being pulled back and tied to the posts with silk ribbons. The big shutters are being left open all day. The lords and ladies are planning their gardens and looking at their horses. In the city, the night watchmen are putting away their heavy cloaks and clappers. The markets are starting to fill with the first fresh eggs and the bright green leaves of wild leeks. The night shift is over for the whole world. You feel a deep sense of peace. You look back at your cottage. The thatch roof is steaming slightly as the sun warms the damp straw. A thin curl of blue smoke rises from the hole in the roof, but it looks light and cheerful. You know that soon the fire will only be needed for cooking, not for survival. You will be able to walk outside without your heavy cloak. You will be able to dig in the earth and feel the dirt between your fingers. The history of the night is a story of courage. It is a story of how humans use simple things: wood, fire, and each other to stay safe. You feel very proud to be part of that story. You have seen the dark, and you have seen the cold, but you have also seen the warmth. You have seen how a tiny ember under a metal cover can keep a whole house alive. You have seen how a shared bed and a warm stone can make the shivers go away. The sun is getting warmer on your back. You close your eyes and breathe in the smell of the waking earth. It is a deep, rich smell. It is the smell of a new beginning. You feel your muscles relax completely. The tension of the winter is melting away, just like the snow in the fields. You are safe. You are warm. You are part of the light. The air is becoming very still and very soft now. The long journey through the dark stone halls and the smoky cottages is coming to an end. You can feel the story slowing down, like a wheel that has finished its turning. The heavy woolen rugs of the past are being folded away, and the straw mattresses are being settled for the last time. You are back in your own world now, but you carry the quiet strength of the history we shared. You feel a deep sense of safety. The shivers of the night are gone, and the quiet of the morning is here to hold you. Your breathing is slow and steady, matching the rhythm of the rising sun. You have watched the watchman, and now you can let the watch go. The world of long ago is tucked away like a secret, but its warmth is still inside you. You are protected, you are peaceful, and you are ready to rest. The sun is rising, the gates are opening, the watch is ended.